They cast him aside, but he rose as the storm itself.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was abandoned by family and became bearer to handle the Four Elements movie. Before we start, please go support El Hero de la Luz for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Hyoudou Issei, the fifth son of the Hyoudou marriage, is ignored by his parents and brothers since they know about the subnatural world, and by the advice of the Mao, Lucifer tells them that it is better not to involve him in this world. Humiliated by the students of the school and deceived by the only light he had, his life will take a 180 degrees turn due to an accident when he knows that he has been chosen as the bearer to handle the four elements. Clarifications. As I traditionally do, here are the clarifications. Issei will be abandoned as a child. Their parents will not pay attention to them while their brothers, on the advice of the Mao. He will be mistreated by the school, which will lead him to a life of loneliness at the beginning. Rias and Sona knew him as a kid and they kept a secret friendship since they were children because of the girl's parents. I'm think of saying that he won't get along with those who abandoned him. The power of the four elements, of how it was created and who was the first to have it, will be explained in the prologue. He will have a girlfriend. I clarify, she is not a girl from DxD, who will betray him. I think he has a dull attitude in the first episodes. There will be a harem, but I plan to make it a boy, at most the girls from his canon harem. There will be no incest. This is due to the new rules circulating on Wattpad. Without more to say, I hope you enjoy this next story. The opening and ending will be in the prologue. I must think them through well. Prologue. Power and a sad life. The Garden of Eden. Place that the God of the Bible created so that his creatures, whom he himself gave life, could live in peace and plenitude. With the arrival of Adam and Eve, God decided to rest, but not before giving Adam his only rule: not to eat the forbidden fruit. Unfortunately, both were trapped by the original Satan to eat the fruit, and as a result God banished them from that paradise. Several years passed, and God continued to watch over the two humans he had expelled. Even though they had disobeyed him, he cared for them. When he saw the terrible life they were leading, he gave Adam a gift that enabled him to survive: control of the four elements. He was the only person at that time who could manage them. The land and water to care for the crops, the fire to provide warmth in his home, and the air that is vital to every living being. Adam thought that this type of power should be passed on to his other children, even if it was only one power for each one, to which he taught and passed his power to his descendants. Unfortunately, man's envy and ambition led to wars between the clans of each element. This was frowned upon by God, and there was only one solution: to start from scratch. Noah, the next to wield the power of all four elements, was tasked with creating an ark to save himself and his family, who were born without any powers, as well as saving two animals of each species. This was done so that God could cleanse the human world and eliminate the corrupt masters of the clans who wielded only one element. This is what he did with the great flood that he sent to the earth. After the flood, and seeing that this power is too dangerous if used incorrectly, he made sure that only those who were able to make a change in biblical history would be entitled to this power until the death of the wielder. There are only a few records of possessors of that power like Moses, the clear example being that the miracle he performed by parting the sea was only waterbending a large state to be able to part it. In addition to that, he created a variation of firebending by creating rays that came out of his staff. Since then, no other bearer of that power has been reported in the Heaven faction, or rather, God erased the records of this when he began to create the sacred gear for the protection of humans. This was because one of his sons who fell from his grace provoked this war to seek and obtain the power of the four elements. The result was that not only his father, but also the four original mass of the underworld died in that war, and more so because of the altercation that two dragons had during their battles. Before dying, God left the power of the four elements and sealed a part of his soul, so that whoever is the worthy bearer of this power would not only control water, air, earth and fire, but would also have the ability to control light and darkness. Until the present time, that power has not been manifested, and among the faction of heaven this remained as a myth among the angels. Present. In a large house in Japan, we see a family at a table surrounded by 7 chairs, of which 6 were already occupied, leaving one empty place. The seats at the table were occupied by 2 adults and 4 children, 2 of whom were twins. This is delicious, Fried. It's true, the food you cook is the best. Not for nothing we have the best chef in Japan in our kitchen. Fried. I am honored by your words, Mr. Hyoudou. It's true that Fried-san's cooking is the best, don't you believe it, little brothers? Yes, Hanabi, this food is delicious. We support this. After an hour the family had finished eating, but at that moment the growling of a stomach was heard near the door. They already ate and didn't wait for me. Everyone at the table turned to see whose voice it was. The parents gave him a cold and unenthusiastic look, while the children looked at him with sadness and bitterness. "Oh, so if you were in the house, well then go to the kitchen to see if there's anything left." "But I wanted." Suddenly the lady of the house slapped him, knocking him to the floor. "Shut up and don't raise your voice to your father, now if you're hungry go to the kitchen." "I'm sorry." Saying this, the child who had not eaten went to the kitchen to eat something, since he was obviously hungry. "Okasama, it is only right to speak to Issei like that. Burrito-kun, you know very well that we can't bring him into this world where you are, so he shouldn't be treated equally." "Hanabi." "But Otu-sama, if we do this, he might not forgive us." "Hanabi-chan, he is our son and I know he will forgive us, even if we force him, so it is better not to go to the training room that the Mayu gave you for your growth. And don't forget Kamei and Winry, you must practice the combined attack." "Kamei Winry." "Yes, mom." The children left the table, leaving the two adults alone. "Boru, do you think we're doing the right thing?" "Boru. Don't worry Mickey, Grandpa is with him, let's stop thinking about that and see Grandpa's will and how we will give the money to the children." "Mickey. Issei will also have part of the money, right?" "Boru. This if you know that we will support him." What they didn't know was that Grandpa Hyoudu's loyal servant had overheard the conversation and this would cause the life of the family's unwanted son to have a great impact. 10 years later. Narrated by Issei. "Hello, my name is Issei Hyoudou and I really don't feel like telling this, you see I'm dying in an ambulance for something that my body didn't dictate, but I have to so you know why I'm like this. I am the third son of the Hyoudou family, but I feel like the last and unwanted one because of how that family treats me. You see, before I was 5, we were happy and united. I remember when my older brothers taught me how to ride a bike and how I made the twins laugh when they cried. But everything changed on the day of that party when a young man with red hair arrived at the house with his family. I had seen him before because I remember he did business with my parents. On the day of the party we met his sister and a friend of theirs. Of course, my brother wanted to impress her with a ball, but for some reason I caught his attention more, which I liked because they were very friendly. But as soon as the party ended, I saw how my parents stopped paying attention to me and little by little, both they and my siblings stopped talking to me. I was a 6-year-old boy who was left to my fate. If it weren't for my grandfather, I would be living on the streets. I remember well that after a family dinner my grandfather took me to his house, which was not well received by my parents, but he didn't mind. While I was there, the 2 girls from that party would secretly come see me. They were the only ones who spoke to me until their brother found out and forbade them from speaking to me, which made me sad. My grandfather didn't like that and closed the contracts with a redeed, which displeased him, but he said it was the right thing to do for my safety. I didn't understand the truth, but I felt sad about not seeing Rias and Sona anymore. At the age of 8, my grandfather died of cancer according to the doctors, leaving me alone since his employees went to my parents' house and abandoned me there. The good part of all this is that he left me as the sole heir to his things, something that was not well seen by my father, but I did not care, by then my relationship with them was more than broken, since they preferred that I live with my grandfather than stay in their house. Finding out that he owned the house and a sum less than $5 million was something I couldn't process at my age, but he clearly thought it through and only left me $1 million and put the other $4 into a trust so I could collect when I turned 18. Of course my brother didn't like this and he and his friends started to bother me at school, while my sisters did nothing, telling me it was for my own good to give me character. From that moment on my life was shit. Since elementary school and throughout my school life I was plagued by various rumors. The first was because he was a liar and a thief, courtesy of my brother. The second because he was a pervert, which was instilled by my older sister. And the third one was that I was a lolicanero, this was what my younger sisters said. Every day I was beaten and humiliated by the other students, while my brothers watched me being beaten. This made me understand that family is disgusting. Things got worse when I started my second year at the academy, which I got into based on my merits and not through the help of Ria's brother, as she and my siblings had been. At the beginning of my second year, rumors spread that I was giving information to rival schools, something the other team members didn't like. This rumor became stronger when, in a kendo championship between schools, the rivals won by a wide margin, knowing the combat techniques of our companions. The rivals only thanked the traitor for selling the information, but of course they never mentioned his name, but most thought I was responsible for this, and I was reprimanded by all the sports clubs. If it weren't for the student council I'd be more than dead. You might be wondering, how did I manage to survive all of this? Well, I had a small light in my life. Her name was Mikado, and she was my girlfriend before the end of my first year. I had regained a bit of happiness with her until just a few hours ago. School time was over and I was waiting for Mikado to go home, but I was surprised not to see her at the school gate, and even more so since it wasn't her turn to clean. I decided to look for her at school, only to find a scene that destroyed me. Near the sports store I started to hear moans, and when I looked out the window I saw the woman who claimed to be my girlfriend being penetrated by a third-year boy. Boy. Tell me how it feels to be this boy's bitch. Mikado. It's great there. Boy. Tell me who you love. Mikado. To you. Boy. And the traitor. Mikado. I don't care anymore. Hearing that was the worst, thinking that he was just using me, I just slammed the door and threw away that necklace he gave me as a seal of our love, which we swore to each other the day I confessed to him. Unfortunately, this didn't end there, as I ran into the softball team and got beaten up for losing the game against the school they have the biggest rivalry with. I think that this day was going to end, but it didn't. As I was leaving school, I noticed a classmate texting with her cell phone in her hand. As she crossed the street, she didn't notice the truck coming in her direction. Normally this wouldn't matter to me, but a voice in my head told me to help, which I did by throwing it at the oncoming car and being the one who took the impact. Right now I don't know where I am, everything seems dark to me. I think I'll finally leave this world, a world where I wasn't blessed. End of the narration. Kuoh Hospital. In the hospital bed we see the brunette who was connected to medical equipment, which captured his vital signs. The boy showed no signs of waking up, and in front of him, there were 3 silhouettes coming out of the room since it was night. As the people left, you could see how the boy began to make faces of anguish, meaning something was happening inside him. Mental space. In Issei's mental space, he observed a darkness that surrounded him. At that moment a flash hit him. Issei. What's going on here? Welcome young bear. Issei. Carrier. Who are you? Let me introduce myself. I have many names in this world, but you can call me Elohim. This was the meeting that the chestnut tree least expected. What does the future hold for him? Chapter 1. A new master is born, 1 year later. Mental space. We see the chestnut somewhat confused since a person had appeared in front of him. Issei. Excuse me, but what did you tell me your name was? Elohim. I already told you, my name is Elohim, but I think you know me by the name of God. The brown-haired boy remained in shock for a few seconds before looking down at the ground. Issei. So you are God. Elohim. That's right, and I come before you for Ugh. He didn't finish his sentence as he had received a punch in the stomach from Issei, who looked at him with hatred and tears in his eyes. Issei. Why do you just appear and not when I needed you the most? Don't you know all I suffered? Every damn night I prayed for you to help me and I received nothing. God only had to withstand the blow the boy had given him and then hug him and calmly rub his head. Elohim. Excuse me boy, but I can't do anything anymore. In fact, what you see in front of you is just a little of my consciousness that I left within the power you are about to receive. Issei. What do you mean? Elohim. The truth is that what you see here is only the shadow of a person who no longer has life in the supernatural world to which he belongs. Issei. You mean you're dead? The older man had only nodded his head at the statement the brown-haired man had given. Issei. What does it matter? If you're here it means I'm about to die, right? Elohim. No, on the contrary, if I am here it is to give you the power that only people who will bring balance to the world have. Issei didn't understand this and seriously just tilted his head. Issei. I don't understand, I'm not supposed to have sacred gear, that's why I'm rejected in the family. This comment left God speechless. Elohim. How do you know about the weapons I have created? Issei. I know from a conversation the Hyoudou gentleman had, I know what those damn things are and why I am not accepted in my family, for not possessing something that I do not boast to them. My brothers deny my existence, now you come to tell me that I have one. No, it's a bad joke. The brunette was still angry, tears still running down his cheeks. Elohim. I'm really sorry, boy. I created those weapons so that humans could protect themselves from supernatural beings. I never thought they would use it for vanity or to show off their power. The boy understood this comment perfectly. It wasn't God's fault for not giving him a gun or something similar, but rather his parents' fault for not appreciating his very existence. Issei. And that's what you were telling me about power. Elohim. It's true, you boy are very different from the rest of your family or any person on the planet. You are the chosen one to bring the balance that has been lost due to my stupidity. At that moment God extended his hand and from there a power was revealed. It was a golden nucleus and around these several orbs floated as if it were a molecule. Elohim. What you see here is the power of the elements, or to put it better, my power. Issei. But what does it contain? Elohim. You have heard of the miracles performed by Noah, Moses and all those outstanding in the Bible truth. Issei. Indeed. Elohim. Well, they were bearers of this power, but no one was able to control it as it was predestined. Issei. I don't understand what you mean. Elohim. Simply put, you will be the next to be called God. This clarification made Issei back down in shock and nervousness. Issei. Wait, you don't think you're exaggerating with me? Elohim. No boy, a heart full of justice towards all is what I have been searching for since my consciousness was captured in this orb. Issei. But I'm not sure, do you think giving me power like that is the right thing to do? Elohim. You are right about that, just like your ancestors. At that moment, several images appeared of how they used the power of God before, for example, Moses used his staff and in that way he manifested it. Elohim. You must decide how to display this power and above all, how to train it. So take my power. The brown-haired boy still didn't have a clear idea of what was happening, but one thing was certain. It was the opportunity he had been waiting for since the moment his life took a nosedive. The closer Issei got to Elohim's hand, the more the dark space where they both were began to clear up. At that moment, an image came to the brown-haired boy. A shadow performing several fighting movements was what he visualized until he touched the orb that entered his interior. Elohim. And tell me, have you already decided how to manifest your new power? Issei. Yes, I have to leave Japan. Elohim. Perfect, wait for it. Issei. Yes, to manifest my power, I need to train my body in martial arts, that will be the way to expel my power. By the way, what power do I have? This question caused Elohim's memory to fall back, only to reappear 10 seconds later. Elohim. Sorry, it's my fault. The brown-haired boy just rubbed the back of his neck because of that comment he made. Elohim. At the moment only the power of the 4 elements is released, you must first learn how to manifest them, then you will discover the variants that exist of them. The chestnut tree paid attention to what Elohim said with great importance. Elohim. Once you control them, I will appear again and I can help with the last step. Issei. And what is that step? Elohim. It's a secret, well boy, it's time for me to go, I'll see you when you break the seal of the last step. Without further ado, the luminous space that was created in the chestnut tree's mind disappeared. Hospital room. In a room in Kuoh Hospital we see a chestnut tree, which was waking up after being run over by a truck. The first thing he saw was a white ceiling, very bright lights, and a probe above his head. Then he began to hear several medical devices, which indicated he was still alive. Issei. How did I get here? He said it on air, but he never expected an answer. I brought you ice and if I'm glad you're okay. The brunette turned to see who was responsible for that voice, only to see Hyoudou, who along with 2 black-haired women, one with a ponytail and the other with short hair, were standing next to her with tears in their eyes. Sona. I'm glad you're okay now, aren't you? Upon seeing them, the brown-haired man returned to his state of having no emotion, as if his brightness went away just by being there. Issei. Miss Sitri, Miss Gremory, Miss Himejima, what are you doing here? The girls were hurt by the way the brunette spoke to her. Rias. Ice, please know that we. Issei. I remind you that you are my brother's fiancé, please tell me about yourself. But these words the Hyoudou just left the room crying, followed by a Keno, as she was returned to her reality. Issei. But it's a good thing to have her here, Kaicho. The black-haired girl was happy to hear that, but that smile would end with the next sentence her friend would say. Issei. I need to drop out of the academy, I'm not coming back. Sona. Why? Issei. As you may know, I am known for being the school traitor. Sona. But they are lies and you know it very well. Issei. But as long as they're there, no one will care, it's best if I leave the academy. The black-haired girl was only saddened by what he said and would get worse by the next sentence. Issei. I also plan to leave Japan. Sona. Please Issei, until when will you stop that attitude with us, you know that we never wanted to leave you alone and… Issei. As I told Miss Gremory, you are also engaged and your boyfriend won't like you being here. The brown-haired man only removed the cables connected to his health monitoring and got out of bed. Issei. It's best to leave this conversation. Seeing this, the black-haired girl wanted to stop him, but all she could do was take his hand. Sona. Tell me what happened, where is that boy from my childhood who promised us that the 3 of us would be together and that's it? The brown-haired boy, without turning to look at her, simply removed himself from the girl's grasp. Issei. That kid learned that life pays you back in the worst way, even when you want to do things the right way. He said this as he recalled all the events he had experienced, from his family abandoning him to his girlfriend cheating on him. The next morning, the chestnut-haired boy only attended school to drop out, after which he took some of his money and, locking his grandfather's house so no one else could enter, left the country. 1 year later. In a mansion in the city, we can see Hyoudou who had woken up from her room. The girl, like every day, took a bath and was preparing to go to university. As was his routine, he ate what he had in that house for breakfast, and before leaving, he took the photo that was on the entrance table. Rias. I'm leaving, see you tonight. The girl, wanting to cry, held it back as a new date began for her, thinking about the events that had happened that year. Rias. I wish you were here, Ice. Rias narrates. How about my name? It's Rias Gremory, or well, it used to be until half a year ago, where everything in this life went to hell because of the deception of several people. But it is better to comment on what has happened this year, that my childhood friend and secret love Hyoudou Issei has been absent. First of all, my parents betrothed me to Issei's older brother, the idiot Hyoudou, just to be the Sekiryuutei. Of course I didn't accept, but I had no other choice, since according to them having the honorable Sekiryuutei as my husband would be a good image for me. I just cried about that, and even more so when I found out that Issei left the academy. I felt like my torment was about to begin, and all because of my idiot brother. But it was since Issei's disappearance that everything turned around. First, Issei's ex-girlfriend had stopped going to him, falling into a deep depression, and I wanted to help him out of it. A big mistake though, because I only found out she was like that after finding out I saw her having sex with that idiot Saji. He himself said so when he bragged about it to my pawn. After that, the academy was happy to see the traitor gone, but everything remained the same. They lost matches because the other teams knew about the new tactics the coach was preparing for the games. Tired of that, he set up a hidden camera in his office to see who the bastard was coming in and passing on that information. I was delighted to see it was that idiot Hyoudou and Saji, who already had a financial agreement with the other schools for that information. That day everyone felt guilty for how they had treated Issei, and even more so when they saw that his grades were what kept the academy in the top places of teaching. Upon learning this, everyone desperately searched for him, but only the director remained calm. As for the engagement with Hyoudou, I spoke to my parents and proved that he was just a liar and asked for the engagement to be removed or I would desert the Gremory house, which they didn't see in a good light and denied. I had a heated argument not only with my parents but also with my brother, leading to the conclusion that if I didn't accept the engagement, I'd forget about my equality in the underworld. I accepted. Sona, my best friend, also had that problem with her parents, and we are in the same situation. Since then I have not had contact with my peer who left with Hanabi when she was promoted to high-class devil or with the Hyoudou, since they kicked me out of their house when I did not accept their eldest son as my husband. Only Akeno, whom I consider my sister, followed me, leaving her place to Hyoudou as queen of the entourage. But their joy at having a respectable son, or rather, sons, was short-lived, since upon finding out what Hyoudou had done, everyone looked at them as a disgrace, but it didn't stop there. A few months later, they discovered that he was the pervert and that the accusations they were making about Issei were made by his older sister just to keep the girls away from her little brother. At first, Issei's parents didn't give any importance to the fact that he had left the country, but afterward, they desperately searched for him, but for different reasons. Mrs. Mickey wanted her son's forgiveness for the years he abandoned him, but his father only sought it, knowing not only that he was an outstanding student, but also that one of his late grandfather's companies had had a very large economic upswing, and he wanted to be part of that, but when he went to see the board of directors of that company, they said they could not accept him without the vote of approval of the representative and owner, that is, Issei. After that conversation, my brother has sought me out to ask for my forgiveness, but I always tell him that all of this is his fault. If he hadn't separated Issei from his family at a very young age, none of this would be happening. As for the supernatural world, I have no longer had contact, the only thing I know is that after several meetings between various factions, peace between them for a common enemy will become a reality. At the moment I live in Issei's grandfather's mansion with Akeno and Sona, since I received a letter from him asking me to take care of her, it's as if he knew what has happened during this time. I just wait for the day he returns and tell him that I still love him and I won't let him be alone again, that, even if it's secret, I would be with him, just like Grandpa had dreamed of. End of narrative. The Redeed always had this same thought every time she looked at the photo of Sona, Issei, and herself. But she was pulled out of her thoughts when she received a call. Rias. Sona, what's wrong? Sona. Rias, we have problems in the city center. Rias. What happened? Sona. A special barrier was created, several rogue demons have appeared, and Saji's parody as well as Hanabi's are having problems. I take it out on them, but we need help. Rias. Okay, let me tell Akeno and we'll head over there. Redeed just sighed and ran to her friend's location. After waiting for Akeno to arrive, they both went to help their roommate. Upon arriving at the location, I noticed the isolation barrier was up and quickly entered. Inside they noticed how the Redeed's former pair, as well as Sona's, were on the floor, but what caught their attention the most was seeing a person who was not very pleasant to the features. But look who we have here, the former Gremory princess and Baraquiel's daughter. Rias. How is that possible? He's supposed to be in Cocytus, Gabriel. Indeed, in front of her was one of the first enemies she faced when she was on par with him. Gabriel. Surprised to see me, even more so knowing that the princess was left aside for not marrying the dumbest and weakest Sekiryuutei in history. Good time girl, until you do something right. Rias. Tell us, what are you doing here? Gabriel. Same as last year, eliminate you and your friend and start the war again, but this time it will be the Chaos Brigade against the pathetic factions. At that moment the Redeed launched the power of destruction from her hand, along with a combination of lightning from Akeno, but it was not enough to harm her, since when the smoke that had created the attack cleared, they noticed something that left them silent. Gabriel. Pathetic, really pathetic, but I have to say that it was more powerful than the attack that the dragon attempt that is at my side wanted to give me. Gabriel quickly launched a black ray from his hand, hitting both girls. Rias Akeno. Aya. The two flew away with serious injuries and their clothes torn. Gabriel. It's time for you to say goodbye. Forming a large spear of light, he threw it where the girls were watching the path that was coming towards them. Rias. I'm sorry, I won't see you again. He just put his hands creating a barrier, but because of how weak he was thanks to the attack he received, it didn't last even a second when it came out. The others who were on the floor just watched as the attack came towards them, and they closed their eyes helplessly. The impact of the attack hitting the ground was heard, but never the screams of the girls. Believing they had died, everyone looked to where Rias and Akeno were, but their surprise was great when they saw a wall of rock formed in front of them. Looks like I'm just in time. Both girls turned around to see the voice that had spoken, only to notice a brunette who was covered by a hood, but his locks were looking only at them, with a neutral gaze towards the floor, but when he saw them, he only gave a small smile. Rias. Ice. He just nodded and turned to look at Gabriel who put on an arrogant smile. Gabriel. But what do we have here, another useless human who wants to die? The chestnut tree didn't even pay attention to what he said, as if he were fighting alone. He made several combat movements, but everyone's surprise was that when he did that, the earth shot out towards the fallen man. Gabriel. But what? He didn't react in time and only felt like a shower of rocks, coming from the ground, was coming towards him, damaging his wings in the process. Gabriel. Miserable. With great anger he threw a jet black ray towards the brown-haired boy, who just watched as the attack came towards him. The others on the floor were concerned to see how that silhouette, which they could not distinguish due to its injuries and how far away it was from them, had no intention of dodging that attack. On the other hand, Sona, who was also on the ground, was healing herself with a little water that she had at her disposal, trying to close her wounds. She only looked attentively at the person who saved her friends. Gabriel just watched maliciously as his attack was about to hit the boy who had attacked him, but his surprise was great when he saw the following. The chestnut-haired boy, as if it were an antenna, raised the tips of his fingers on one hand and another, a little lower than the first, intercepted the ray, which had disappeared, but out of nowhere one of the young man's hands was running down his arm, going down towards his stomach without passing through his heart, and coming out on the way to his arm to extend it and pointed at the angel who had attacked him. Gabriel had no time to react because he was so shocked by that movement that he received the same attack he had launched, causing him to fall to the ground, badly injured. Issei. This is your end. Saying this, he raised his hand again to the height of his chest and, giving a great blow to the ground, caught his enemy in shackles made of rock. Gabriel. It's not possible this power is. Issei. It's time to say goodbye. Out of nowhere, with gentle movements, the water that Sona was occupying immediately moved away and surrounded the brown-haired boy, who took the form of a water spear and threw it towards Gabriel, who upon contact formed eyes, trapping him permanently. Issei. You won't get out of here anymore. The others were impressed by that battle. Ria's former pieces looked in disbelief at what had happened. Rito just looked with disgust at the hooded person, but one of them spoke impressed. Hineko. Hanabi-sama, that person has the same scent as you. Everyone, including Sona's pieces, looked at where the hooded man was, who was only looking at the two girls in front of him. Issei. Rias, it's nice to see you again. Rias. Ice, it's you right. Issei. Yes, it's me. Neither of them thought twice and threw themselves at him, knocking him down in the process, but no matter what, they just continued to hug him desperately. Rias. Ice, my ice, come back. This scream caught the attention of everyone in the room, especially Sona. She had forgotten she was hurt and ran toward the boy, joining the two in the embrace. Sona. It's you're back. The others just looked on in disbelief. In front of them was the one who was once considered a traitor, a pervert and above all a person without any magical ability or bearer of a sacred gear. After that loving gesture, Issei stood up and helped the three girls to their feet. Even while standing, they didn't let go of his embrace, leaving the boy's arms free. Issei's brothers, seeing him standing near them, only had tears in their eyes wanting to float, especially the twins. Hanabi. Oni-chan sniff has returned. Rito. Idiot, you're finally back. Heimi. Oni-sama. Winri. She's back. Mikado. Ice, my beloved Ice, you're back. Everyone who knew Issei was surprised by his return and didn't think twice about going over and giving him a hug, but they were greatly surprised to see how a flame from Issei's hand had come out in their direction, preventing them from taking another step. Issei. Don't even think about taking another step. Hanabi. But Oni-chan, we have. Issei. You nothing, I don't want to see you. Mikado. My love, please, we've been looking for you. Issei. Your love is that idiot lying on the floor, I better go take care of him, don't think I've forgotten him. Mikado. Please Issei, give me another chance, the bastard only used pheromones on me what? Issei. That doesn't matter to me, as far as I'm concerned you're only his, and that's how it will be, don't look for me anymore. The girl couldn't stand it any longer and ran away from that place, the pain of having lost the boy of her dreams was greater than her wounds. Rito. Please brother, we've learned our lesson, forgive us and. His sentence was interrupted when he felt a gust of air throw him far away. Issei. I don't give second warnings, it would be best if. The boy just sighed as he saw a magic circle appear in the place where Ritied, a blonde, a black-haired man with colored locks, and his parents had appeared. Sirzechs. Good job stopping Gabriel, Rito-kun. This comment not only angered the boys, but also their companions except for Father Hyoudou. Rito. Thank you, but I didn't do anything. Azazel. We know, kid, we've come for him. He said, pointing at the brunette who neutrally looked at the newcomers, recognizing three. Issei. Mr. and Mrs. Hyoudou, you idiot. Sirzechs. Who are you? Issei. It's normal that you don't recognize me, since it was your idea to leave me as a child. This made the Ritied open his eyes in surprise, his mother's eyes water, and his father's serious look. Sirzechs. It's you Ice-kun. Issei. You have no right to call me that, for you I am Hyoudou Issei, and I hope to soon stop being him. Mickey. Issei my boy finally. Issei. I'm sorry, but I'm not your son. Oru. What are you saying? You're my boy, my pride, the one who defeated. Issei. Don't say anything else, every word that comes out of your mouth is one more reason to make him disappear. He said as from his hand, a great power of fire that was surrounded by rocks was growing more, alerting the two angels. Nice to meet you young man, my name is Michael and Azazel, we are both leaders of the other biblical factions. Azazel. Boy, we want to talk to you about that power you have. Issei. We'll see about that later, I just arrived in Japan and what I want is to go to sleep. Mickey. Perfect, you'll come with us and I'll prepare you. Issei. That's a good joke, we both know that I'm not even welcome at her house since the day she abandoned me with my grandfather and even less that she knows how to cook, besides I have my own house. Mickey. But you don't have anything there and if you come with us we'll take care of you and. Issei. I don't need anything from you, not since I was a child, nor now. The brunette just turned to the opposite side where the others were and began to walk towards his house, at his side were the three girls who had hugged him. This was a great shock for the Hyoudou mother who just started crying, being comforted by her husband and children. Sirzechs. Issei-kun, you should listen to your mother, she knows what's best for you and. Out of nowhere, he just felt everyone else getting bigger, but he was very surprised to find himself at ground level, where his head was the one that was outside, since the rest of his body had been buried. Issei. I already told you, don't talk to me like you're my friend, girls, let's get out of here and you can tell me what happened. The girls started walking, leaving Issei behind by half a meter. Issei. And you too, I'll see you tomorrow at my house. Sona will give you the address. Saying this they left that place, leaving the others wounded. Issei's mansion. The four had arrived at the mansion that once belonged to Issei's grandfather, which was in good condition. The brown-haired boy noticed the complicated look the three of them had on their faces along the way, so he spoke to them when they arrived. Issei. Well, tell me what bothers you. Sona. Yo, tell me what happened this year. Issei. What are you basing this on? Rias. It's just that before you left, you didn't even want to see us, and halfway through the year, we got your letter. Tell me, Issei, what happened? Issei. I'll just say, my training made me see things well. Ikeno. And can you tell us how your trip went? Issei. Sure, but it will be after dinner. The chestnut tree that had just returned had a lot to tell. Chapter 2. Issei's training, a new life begins. Issei's mansion. In Issei's mansion we see a brunette who was sitting in a large individual armchair, in front of him a small tea table, which was being occupied by the products that a certain beautiful girl whose hair was tied in a ponytail was bringing for the others to taste. On the other side of the table, there was a redhead with large breasts and next to her a girl with short hair who wore glasses and had a chubby butt. Rias. Well Ice, please explain to us that sudden change you got in the middle of the year. Issei. What do you mean? Sona. A year ago you left the country, you broke our hearts by telling us that you didn't want to see us in your life anymore. Bekeno. And then mid-year, we get a letter telling us to take care of your things and that we're more than welcome in your life. The chestnut tree just took a sip of tea while listening to these points calmly. Rias. Please, we just want to know if we're still a part of your life or if you were just looking for someone to take care of your house. She said it while squeezing her chest and tears of sadness began to flow from her face. This of course was noticed by the honey-eyed man who calmly left the cup on the table and put on a serious face. Issei. Okay, I'll be honest with you and please listen to me until the end. I don't like being interrupted. The girls nodded and looked at the boy in front of them. Issei. Well, it all started a year ago. Issei narrates. After awakening this power that God himself gave me, I knew that it was inevitable to train to master it, but the knowledge needed was not in the city of Kuoh, much less in the country of Japan. Which is why I decided to leave the city, but not before leaving the company my grandfather founded in good hands, and who better than a person who helped me in dark times, where everyone had abandoned me after the old man's death. She's a cute girl with purple hair and a great figure, if you ask me, her name is Penum Ravenfield. I remember many times when I would come to see my grandfather after the humiliation my brothers gave me, but sometimes he couldn't see me because of the long meetings he had, but he wouldn't leave me alone, he always sent Penum-chan to comfort me. I can only say that she was my favorite thigh pillow. After her death and as the next in command of the company, I left the girl as my legal advisor. At first, she didn't want me to leave the country. She told me to stay and that with her I could achieve the happiness that had been denied to me. But I had to reject the offer and tell her that I needed to find myself and be reborn again from the ashes that others had created. She told me she would wait for me with open arms and be the mother I never had, but I'm realistic, I'll never see her as a mother, because I know my heart tells me I should love her in another way, plus I had fantasized about her, and that prevented me from seeing her more as a mother. After leaving the company in the hands of Penum and having taken enough money to travel, I studied the points in martial arts necessary to manifest my power, traveled to China, and brought out my first power, the control of water. Upon arriving in China, and thanks to the knowledge that Elohim had given me, I knew that since water is an element that changes state, I should do the same with my movements. So I sought out Taikai masters. I knew that with that discipline I could carry out the changes and movements when controlling water. For months I practiced defending myself in this type of fight and soon I saw how the water was called, as if both danced in the same way. Having practiced this and mastered manipulating, throwing, freezing, and converting water, I moved on to the next discipline and element, earth. In southern China, where the Canton was predominant, I observed a perfect discipline for land control, Hungar. Seeing that his movements and blows were deep and his posture was firm, I noticed how my body connected with my body, as if it were part of my sense of touch and sight, since, when hitting the ground to raise the earth, I was able to see beyond what my eyes observed. Feeling the earth in my hands and being able to manipulate it, the difficult part was turning this into a projectile, like bullets, which I achieved by picking up a piece of rock and throwing it with my hand without making any contact. Months after mastering this, I traveled to Thailand. In that place, I went with the Shaolin monks, since the discipline they handled was indica, self-defense, making the opponent's blow go against themselves. At first they refused to train me, saying that my intentions were not pure and that they felt resentment towards me, a great disadvantage when practicing this style of combat, since it would be my downfall. I asked to be given a test to be worthy of this teaching, and they took me to a large temple, where meditation was the important thing. They told me I shouldn't let resentment dominate my life, that I needed to find balance in this. This part of the training was the worst of all. At the very beginning, I witnessed several scenes that clouded my judgment. The first thing was seeing how my parents despised me, how they abandoned me because of the red-haired idiot who told them that since he had no power, it was better that he didn't know about this supernatural world for my protection. Then I watched as my brother and his family rubbed in my face how they had convinced Rias and Sona's parents to be their life partners and how he had forced a kiss on my childhood friend. How my sisters would make up gossip after gossip at school, from me being useless to being a pervert and depraved, to the point where I was always getting slaughtered by the kendo girls when Rito and his friends were the culprits. Then how they called me a traitor, which I never knew why, but the beatings got worse every day. Finally, seeing how the only light I had in this shitty life had cheated on me with that idiot Sona's fiancé, that jerk Saji. Seeing how she was taken in by that idiot and how the promise we made to form a family together crumbled with every moan she gave. All that resentment, that hatred was what kept me from being at peace with my heart and what I didn't allow them to teach me. For a month, meditating and trying to erase all of this was impossible. It wasn't until those four appeared in my meditation, I mean the girls who have never left me alone. Rias took my hand and placed it on her chest, with that the memory of my poor ex-girlfriend had disappeared. Sona took my other hand to put it on her chest and watch as the moment in which she was forced to kiss the inept also disappeared. As I felt Akeno hug my waist, I saw how the teasing, gossip, and lies about me were gone, leaving only a moment of peace. Finally, feeling Penum's breasts on my head, like the time she hugged me as a child when I was waiting for my grandfather, the moment my parents abandoned me, went blank. I only woke up from that meditation to see the great monk standing before me, giving me a warm welcome. I remember the wise words his interpreter spoke to me, as he had taken a vow of silence, and the great monk's words would never come out. However, it was as if he were giving a great speech with just a gesture. Monk. The master says that even if you have supplanted that part of hatred in you, it will always be in your heart, but finding that which will bring you happiness is more than enough to cover it. Remember that good and evil must always be balanced in everything. I understood that clearly. I knew that my hatred towards them would be present, but I channeled it into indifference, and with my happy moments, I would find those with the four girls who appeared in front of me. After achieving that balance and writing that note to Rias, asking her to watch my house with Sona and Akeno, my kung fu training began. The first step was to master the essentials, the basic movements. Then we moved on to what was really worthwhile. Mastering the movements of a dragon. I chose this animal just to prove to those idiots that even without an obese lizard inside me, I could be better than them in every way. At the end of my basic training, I managed to incorporate the fire element into this martial art. On my way back to China, I passed through a village in my search for the fourth martial art to express air. It was then that a revelation passed before my eyes. 3 master thieves who had terrorized other villages in the mountains of China and who had received no support from the government or the Chinese faction were about to rob the village again. But in front of them, a single person, who only had a staff in his hand, defeated the 3 of them in an extraordinary manner, who had used kung fu and tai chi to fight. Notice how quickly and from different angles he had defeated the 3, using only his cane. I respectfully asked him to teach me that fighting style, but he told me that the best way to learn is to see it from another perspective, that is, to be a victim of it. For weeks I spent fighting him, managing to make the fighting style my own. He taught me that Bagwazhang, the martial art he practiced, was always viewed in different ways, 8 to be exact, thus allowing me to be free in my combat style, free like the air that always moves as he wishes. Even though I knew all these martial arts, I knew I had a long way to go, but I wouldn't do it alone, so I decided to return to Japan and practice at home, to protect what I truly care about. End of narrative. The chestnut had stopped narrating what happened during that year of training. The girls remained serious after hearing all this. Issei. It was thanks to the great monk that I managed to put my life in balance, that's why I sent you that letter, even knowing that by now you would already be Mrs. Hyoudou, I thought that even. The brown-haired boy only fell silent when he felt Rias hug him. Rias. I would never leave you, my ice. Then he pinched him on the arm, which hurt the boy. Rias. And this is for thinking I'd marry that idiot. The brunette just smiled at what the girl said, only to reciprocate that hug and give her a kiss on the forehead. Issei. You guys are what really keeps me sane and from unleashing my anger on those idiots, that includes your pieces that. Rias. Old pieces. Issei. How? Rias. Well, I'd better start my story of what happened. The brown-haired boy nodded as he took another sip of the wonderful tea they had prepared. The girl told him how the information selling problems continued. Of course the idiots Rito and Saji continued blaming Issei even though he hadn't gone. She was very surprised to see how the physical education teacher unmasked the 2 idiots in a video. After his ex-girlfriend, who had fallen into a sudden depression, helped him out of it. But he was furious when he learned the source of the depression. The brown-haired boy continued listening calmly as a cookie, courtesy of Akeno, entered his mouth. Rias told her about the strong argument she had with her family, as well as Sona, and how she decided to put aside being the heiress of the Gremory clan, causing her banishment from the underworld, as well as from the Hyoudou mansion, since she did not accept to marry Rito. Her other pieces left her aside going with him, that included the girl that Issei saved, Zenobia Court, or better known as Zenobia Hyoudou, something that the girl regretted in the end. He then told her how they realized it was a disgrace when they learned that the achievements Rias had obtained and Rito had taken were nothing more than the brunette's works and plans. Thus, everything related to him, including his new wife, was seen as a pest. This caused the Hyoudou family to fracture in every way. She also told him about Sirzechs' plea for forgiveness, but it never happened. Rias. This is how the underworld and your family have been. Issei. Wow, it was predictable. Without me to have a scapegoat, the truth would come out sooner or later. Akeno. The one I feel sorry for is Zenobia. Issei. Why do you say that? Bekeno. Since Rito took her first time, she has stopped giving that rude smile that characterized her, as if she had found out something she regrets. Rias. Not only her, Kaneko and Irina are also the same. Sona. Also most of my pieces that are part of Saji's harem, except for Tsubaki. Issei. Wow, things have been ugly around here, by the way, where Asia, Ross and Tsubaki are. Rias. Well, Asia before I had my pieces removed, she asked me to leave her in a safe house under Azazel-sensei's guardianship. Bekeno. Ross returned to Auden, he didn't like the idea of passing into the hands of idiot Rito. Sona. As for Tsubaki, well I had to hide her, since that idiot Sirzechs wanted her to stay with Saji. Rias. Not only that, your family is more than divided. Issei. Tell me, how is it? Rias. On one hand, your father only seeks you out so that you can give him part of the profits that your grandfather's company has obtained, while your mother only regrets not having been there for you, your sisters support your mother and… Issei. Don't tell me that idiot Rito thinks Goro is right. Rias. Exactly. Issei. Wow, I left them for a year and look how everything is upside down. The girls just laughed at that comment and without thinking they went to the brunette to hug him. Sona. And tell me, will you return to the academy? Issei. I'd like to say no, but I must finish my studies if I want to take control of my grandfather's company. Rias. It would be best to go and rest. The four nodded and after a year, the brunette fell fast asleep when he hit the bed. The three girls didn't wait for his permission and slept beside him. Hyoudou mansion. In one of the rooms, to be more exact in Rito's, moans were what could be heard. You could see a couple having hex, the orange-haired guy was on top of a blue-haired girl and she was just panting in ecstasy. Rito. TSK Zenobia, you're too tight. Zenobia. I say. At the moment of saying this, the boy left his partner's privacy and looked at her with bad eyes. Rito. How is that Issei? Zenobia. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to me. Rito. Seriously, you barely see him after a damn year and you already want to change me. Zenobia. Calm down, you know I just want to have strong children and what better than with the Sekiryuutei. For some reason this made the boy offended, so he just took his pants and left the room, leaving the girl with the sheets covering her body. Zenobia. He's an idiot. Then I look at the mark on her hand that Rito left on her the day he marked her, with some nostalgia. Zenobia. I know I did the right thing. On the other hand, the boy went down to the mansion's kitchen to calm down, only to see his parent sitting next to a Redid who was with them. Nikki. It's a joy that my son returned, I hope I can obtain his forgiveness, because of you I only earn his contempt. Goro. Calm down dear, he's just a child throwing a tantrum, you'll see that when he needs something he'll come running to us looking for help. Nikki. I doubt it and you know it very well, since we abandoned him as a child he has known how to fend for himself. Sirzechs. What is inevitable is that he already knows about this supernatural world, so the best thing for him would be to be part of the demon faction. Goro. I agree with that. Imagine, Sirzechs Dono, having the Sekiryuutei and the boy who killed Gabriel under the command of the demons. Not only the underworld, but the Hyoudou surname will be the most recognized. This comment for some reason angered a certain orange-haired man who was on the stairs listening. Sirzechs. No more talk, we'll recruit Issei-kun to be part of the devils. That's good news, don't you think, brother? The gossip turned to see who had spoken to him, only to see his sisters behind him. Rito. Hanabi, Winry and Kamei, what are you doing here? Hanabi. It's not obvious, brother. Winry. Let's talk to our parents. Kamei. And convince them to let Issei return home. Also, I want my boyfriend back. The girls made a face of disgust upon hearing that voice. Winry. Don't you think that's hypocritical of you, Mikado? Mikado. But he is my boyfriend and the man of my dreams. Kamei. And if so, why did you sleep with Saji? Mikado. That was a mistake. Hanabi. A mistake that can't be erased or I remind you of your brand. The girl just grimaced in disgust when she saw Saji's mark on her chest, which appeared the first moment she deceived Issei. Rito. Be grateful that I let you live with me, if it weren't for the fact that you were the same age as my beloved Rias, I wouldn't have accepted you. Mikado. Beloved. You know very well that he can't stand you, that's why you are the king of his pieces. Rito. She just doesn't see that we are meant for each other and sooner or later she'll be by my side. Hanabi. This discussion is pointless, it's best if we go to sleep, there's school tomorrow. Saying this, the five went to their rooms, where Rito ignored the girls who were in his bed and decided to sleep. The next day. We see a brunette getting up after sleeping comfortably in his room, only to see a Redid taking his chest as a pillow. Issei. What time do I come in? At that moment the door of the room slammed open, only to see a blonde enter desperately. Asia. Issei-san. The boy reacted as best he could and took the girl in his arms, not caring that Rias was under it. Issei. Asia-chan. Asia. Issei-san, I don't know how much I missed you. The girl who was still on top of the reed just cried in Issei's chest. Issei. Why are you crying? Asia. Issei-san, please excuse me for not being able to help you with the rumors that Saji-san and his brothers had started. Issei was surprised by that fact. Asia. I wanted to tell her many times, but her family threatened to tell Rias One-sama to kick me out of her family if I said anything. Rias began to wake up when she felt something heavy on top of her, thinking it was the brunette. She blushed at that fact, but Asia's tears, as well as the weight on her back, brought her back to reality. Rias. Asia, get off me. The blonde reacted to the voice, only to watch as it crushed her sister, who quickly got out of bed. Asia. Sorry, Rias One-sama. Rias. Okay Asia, it's over. But why are you here so early? Suddenly the two missing girls entered the brown-haired boy's room, who was still half asleep. Akeno. Because I told him where Issei would be, and it's already time for breakfast. Sona. That's true, we all prepare breakfast and go to our respective academies. The brunette nodded and got out of bed, pushing aside Rias who stretched out in front of him to shake off the sleep from his body, giving him a wonderful view of her body, which he surreptitiously saw. Rias. Ara, you like what you see Ice. Issei. I don't know what you're talking about. Rias. It doesn't matter if you see me, you're the only one who can do it. The boy just looked away, but his chin was taken by Rias who kissed him on the lips, a kiss that lasted more than a few minutes, and in the end a trail of saliva was the result after separating from that act. Rias. You don't know how long I've wanted to do this. The girl just licked her lips, as if she had savored the kiss. The others just remained jealous, including a blonde who pouted, which made a certain brunette smile. Issei. Well let's go have breakfast, I have to enroll in the academy again and go somewhere else. Rias. Where exactly? Issei. I must see how my grandfather's company is doing and greet a certain someone. Time skip. Breakfast had already passed, the boys left Issei's mansion and went first to the university, where the boy said goodbye to the three girls older than him, with a kiss on the cheek to each one. Earning not only the hatred of the boys who were passing by her and seeing that the three first-year beauties had been stolen by a brat, but also the love-learned glances of the other girls who were passing by. After that, Issei and Asia went to the academy, where he left the girl in her classroom, but not before being taken by surprise by the girl when he felt her lips on his cheek. Asia. See you later Issei-san. The brown-haired man nodded and left that room. Where he caught the attention of everyone in the place, since his name had not been mentioned for a year now. Girl 1. Did Issei say? Girl 2. Yes, I heard it well too. Girl 4. So that boy who was beaten. Girl 3. He became that man. The girls just watched Issei walk by, since the body mark he had obtained after his training was noticeable. On the other hand, the boys were quick to respond to the rumors. Boy 1. That wasn't the guy they said was the traitor. Boy 2. Yes captain, now what would you do after so many beatings that you gave him and that he should never have received? Boy 1. There's no other option but to apologize. The chestnut tree only heard the murmur of this, but did not pay attention to it. Once I arrived at the school's office, I went in and talked to the school principal. Upon entering, I see a man with disheveled hair and a look that says, I wish I was sleeping somewhere else than here. Director. Wow Hyoudou-san, I see you kept your promise. Issei. Director Izawa, it's like I said, I'm here to take the knowledge exam and return to the third year. Director Izawa. I was waiting for it, well take this exam, you have 1 hour. The exam time had started, but it only took the brunette 15 minutes to finish it, and the test was quickly graded, earning an outstanding. Director Izawa. Well, this confirms to me that your knowledge is at the level of the third year, starting tomorrow. Issei. Well, I appreciate it. The son boy left school taking advantage of the fact that classes were in session. After that stop, he went to where he really wanted to go, his grandfather's company, Hyoudou Incorporated. When I got there I just looked from the outside at the huge building in the center of the city, I quickly went inside and headed to the reception of the place. Upon arriving I see a beautiful young woman, whose little makeup she wore was ideal to highlight her beauty. Receptionist. Yes, good morning. Issei. Good morning. Receptionist. How can I help you today? Issei. I've come to see Miss Ravenfield. Receptionist. You have an appointment with her. Issei. Just tell her that Issei Hyoudou came to see her. With this, the return of that boy who had left everything behind to be something was more than marked. Chapter 3. Returning to the academy, I'm not the same anymore. Hyoudou companies. In the main office we see a girl no older than 30 who was in front of her computer, concentrating on the work she was doing. To her right a couplet was giving off a little smoke, implying that she had coffee or some other hot drink, and to her left, the photograph of a certain brunette who was smiling. In order to clarify her doubts about her current job, the girl took a sip of that drink every 20 minutes while looking at Issei's photo with great tenderness and sadness. "Penum. My Issei, my little Issei, please come back, I need you by my side." The girl simply wiped the tear that had fallen down her cheek and returned to her work. At that moment, the sound of her communicator rang. "Penum? Yes. Secretary. I'm sorry, Madam President, but they're looking for you." "Penum? Tell whoever it is that I'm busy." "Secretary. Mr. Hyoudou tells me he wants to see you." The purple-haired girl got angry when she heard that last name, thinking that he was Issei's father. "Penum? Please tell that idiot that we're not going to give him the opportunity or sell him any of the company's shares, which belong to." "Secretary. Sorry, but it's Mr. Issei who's." Suddenly, a loud bang was heard from the other side of the office, leaving both of them in doubt, only to see Penum in her form-fitting suit, which was too tight for more than one person to imagine. The purple-haired girl, upon seeing her beloved brunette outside the office, simply took the boy by the hand and abruptly pulled him inside, locking the door. The secretary was literally shocked by the attitude of her boss, who had only been on the job for a month. Inside Penum's office, we see her affectionately hugging Issei while putting his head between her breasts, something that the brunette internally appreciated. "Penum. My little baby, you don't know how much I've missed you." "Issei. Me too, but I can't breathe." The boy only began to show signs of giving up wrestling due to lack of oxygen. "Penum. I don't care, you don't know how long I wanted to do it." The brunette, trying to get out of the girl's embrace, accidentally made both of them fall onto the sofa that was near them, leaving Issei on top of Penum, both of them looking directly into each other's eyes. The brunette, without thinking, was bringing his face closer to the girl, who with her hand cupped his cheek while closing her eyes, ending with a beautiful kiss. A kiss that conveyed that sadness of having been away for a long time and returning. "Issei. I missed you so much." "Penum. Me too." They both kissed again in a calm manner, while their hands held each other and intertwined their fingers. I'm interrupting something." That voice made both of them leave their world, and they saw a magic circle appear on the floor, where a reed had appeared, alerting the brunette a lot. "Issei. Rias como si te ocker." "Penum. Don't worry, I already know who she is, right Rias?" "Rias? Yes Penum-san, or should I say Grigory's cadre." The brunette was shocked by this revelation because he didn't know that the girl he had kissed was actually a fallen angel. "Issei. But since you know each other like this, I had only given instructions to Penum to give you the key to my grandfather's house." "Rias? Well my eyes, sometimes you are a bit absent-minded, and more so because you already knew how to recognize magical signatures that her signature and Akeno's are not familiar to you." The brown-haired boy just closed his eyes, and it was true, both Penum and Akeno had a similar aura. "Rias? Well that's not important, I came to pick you up because you were late and you have school tomorrow." The purple-haired girl was surprised by that fact, thinking that she was going to go through that stage of life again, where humiliations were present to that boy, was something she didn't like. "Penum. But Rias, how could you possibly ask her to come back to school? You know from everything." "Issei. In fact, it was my decision. I must finish my studies if I want to take on the responsibility I have as the next leader of this company. That's why I came back, in addition to no longer being anyone's shadow or sack." The girl was amazed by the firm words of the boy she had fallen in love with. She just hugged him from behind, a sign that she trusted him. "Penum. Okay my eyes, I just hope to see you here in the evenings like a year ago." "Issei. Don't worry, I'll be here." "Well Rias, it's time to go." The girl nodded and walked out of Penum's living room next to the chestnut tree, heading home. "Rias. Can we go get some ice cream?" "Issei. If that's what you want, then let's go." That day had ended well for the brunette, who only enjoyed that afternoon with the redeed. The next day. At Issei's mansion, activities were beginning quietly, where we see a brown-haired boy sleeping peacefully while being hugged to the chest of Rias, who was drooling with tranquility. In the kitchen were Akeno and Sona, who were preparing breakfast for the members of the house, who, on the other hand, we see a blonde with green eyes and a desirable body, setting the table to serve breakfast. Akeno. "Asia, could you go wake up that pair? Tell them breakfast is ready." "Asia. It's Akeno-san." The girl quickly went up to the master bedroom to wake the two boys who were sleeping peacefully. Upon reaching the room, the girl turned red as she watched the brunette unconsciously grab Ria's breasts while she squeezed her head harder and small moans came from her mouth. "Asia. Issei-san is so mean, if he wanted to grab some breasts he would have asked me." The brunette woke up and, seeing what he was doing, subconsciously couldn't stop squeezing them. This also caused the Redeed to wake up, who just looked down and watched her brunette's movements, which made her blush and smile warmly. Issei. I'm sorry, but you're like this and I can't afford to waste it. The girl just kissed his forehead and put him more on her breasts. Rias. I don't care, because I know it's you, but I think it's time to get up. Both boys got out of bed, then ate the breakfast that the others had made. During breakfast everything was calm, but a big doubt came to the girl. Rias. Ice, are you sure you want to go back to the academy? I don't want to find out that you were mistreated again, and I'm even less likely to be able to defend you now that I'm at university. If anything happens to you, I'll. The girls looked at this comment sadly, as it was true. But Sona, despite wanting to help him when she was president of the council, couldn't intervene directly due to threats from the Hyoudou brothers. The brown-haired boy clearly saw the girl's anguished eyes, but he calmed her with a smile. Issei. Don't worry, I'm no longer that helpless child who let himself be manipulated by others. Let's finish breakfast because it's getting late and I have to drop you off at the university. The calm tone of voice I spoke in made the girls calm down too. Already on the way to school, most of the boys looked at the two beauties who once belonged to the academy and now attended the city's university, who were accompanied by a boy who earned the look of hatred from the men, who, on the women's side, just looked at him with great astonishment because they did not know the boy as such, or rather, they did not recognize him. Girl 1. Who will be the one going with Rias-sama and company? Girl 2. I don't know, but you already noticed, she's wearing the academy uniform. Girl 3. Considering her height, she must be a third year, don't you think? Girl 1. I think so, but he's too handsome. Girl 2. That's right, will he be Rias-sama's boyfriend? Everyone was talking about Issei because he had captured everyone's attention, but he wasn't bothered because he didn't care about those comments. First, they arrived at the university, which shared the grounds with Kuoh Academy, but it was a little far from where the occult research club met. The four girls who attended that campus said goodbye to the brunette with a kiss on the cheek, except for Rias, who took the collar of Issei's shirt and gave him a slightly possessive kiss, which our brunette reciprocated by hugging her waist while they continued kissing. The other students looked at the boy in a bad way, and upon feeling those looks, he only made defiant eyes, which they noticed, and it was better to let the spectacle pass. But among them there were some boys who immediately recognized the brown-haired boy. Boy 1. Hey, that's not the one we called a traitor and dislocated his shoulder for. Boy 2. That's right, it's Hyoudou Issei, the former traitor. Boy 3. What happened to him? He looks very different. Boy 1. I would really like to apologize for how we treated you, but it would be very hasty. That small group continued arguing, they didn't notice that the brunette had left with a blonde in the direction of the academy, but there was only one other who looked seriously at Issei. Rito. So you've decided to return to the academy, I'll tell Zenovia to summon you so we can talk. The boy continued on his way to college while walking alongside his older sister who was a year ahead of him. Academia de Kuoh. The chestnut tree along with the girls who came with him had entered the school. At the door stood a blue-haired girl who was supposed to maintain order as the students entered. She noticed the brunette holding on to her old friend Asia. Zenovia. Oh my god, he looks handsome. No, I'm already with my beloved Sekiryuutei, I can't think of anyone else, but. She remembered how yesterday, while having sex with her boyfriend, she moaned the brunette's name, causing him to grab her breast and feel a little pain. Zenovia. I know I did the right thing by going with Rito and not just me, but all the girls who love him. She said to herself as she looked at her right hand where a crimson dragon was appearing. Upon arriving at his new classroom, he waited outside, waiting for the teacher in charge to give him permission to enter. Upon entering, he looked at the person who would be his teacher, only to get an unpleasant surprise. Good morning, students. Students. Good morning, Minagawa-sensei. Minagawa. Well, today a new student will be joining us, please introduce yourself. The girl, upon turning to look at him, was simply shocked because in front of her was the student she played with in her first year. Issei. Nothing else to say, I am Hyoudou Issei, I returned after a school exchange. The teacher, seeing him, intended to go with him, but she knew that it was not the appropriate time and place. Minagawa. Okay guys, something to ask. The boys raised their hands, but everyone remained silent when they saw the brunette walk towards the empty bench in the classroom, next to Asia who was smiling at him. Issei. I didn't come to make friends, I just want to finish school and go to college, so don't mess with me or want to get familiar with me, for you I'm still that kid who was beaten up and didn't say anything. Those words were so painful for the entire room that the mood quickly plummeted. The girls wore only sad expressions, and the boys, remorseful ones. But there were 3 people in the room who didn't want to look at the brunette as he reminded them of something bad. And 2 others felt a mixture of emotions within them when they saw him. Minagawa. Well, let's start today's class, in 1853. Thus passed the first hours of class, which were a somewhat uncomfortable silence for the rest of the students, since they did not know how to treat a certain boy who had arrived. This is how class time passed before lunch began, where the blonde approached the brunette and in her hand, she had a couple of lunches wrapped in a cloth. Asia. Come on Issei-san, it's time to eat, I know a good place to taste the food. The brown-haired boy nodded and stood up from his place. The bad thing was that halfway towards the door he was intercepted by two girls, who had a wooden sword and blocked his way. Issei. May I help you? Murayama. Caddis. Murayama. Sorry if we stopped you like that. Caddis. But we wanted to talk to you about what happened a year ago. Issei. If you're coming to apologize, take a ticket and wait your turn. There'll really be a long line to apologize. The girls were angry at that comment, since they had come with the intention of talking. Caddis. Don't be rude to us or else. Issei. Or else what? They'll hit me like the time I told them I didn't spy on kendo girls and they didn't listen to any reason, they only believed my brother and his friends. The brown-haired man just pushed the swords, which made a certain brown-haired man react and accidentally hit her on the head. The entire room fell silent at the girl's actions, especially knowing that the council president was there. Murayama. Hyoudou-san, yo. Issei. Well, if you're done, I should go to the infirmary to get healed. Because of you, I won't be able to enjoy my lunch. Let's go, Asia. The blonde nodded and left with the brunette while carrying both of their lunches. In the classroom everyone remained silent, especially when they saw that on the floor where the chestnut tree was standing, there were some blood stains. Student 1. Now you've gone too far, Murayama. Student 1. You're a savage, you haven't even been here a day and you've already humiliated Hyoudou-san. Murayama. But it wasn't my intention to do that, Zenobia. Murayama, Caddis. Please come with me to the council room, we need to have a serious talk. Irina, let's go. The girls followed the council president, who they noticed was a little embarrassed by her walking, but they couldn't ask anything because they were in a bind. From the living room to the side, where Kiba and his companion, Mikado, watched as the brunette walked naturally next to Asia, but blood was coming out of his face, which little by little was falling to the floor. Mikado. I must go see what happened to my eyes. The blonde just shook his head as he left the room heading for the occult club. Upon arriving at the infirmary and noticing that no one was there, Asia cured the brown-haired man in a simple way, but to simulate it, she placed a blessing on his head, this understanding that he was indeed cured. Issei. Thanks, Asia, but I think it's best to eat here. We've already run out of time to come here and cure myself. Asia. Yes Issei-san, later we will go eat where I wanted to take you, but I'll go get something to drink, I won't be long. The brunette nodded and watched as the girl left the room. Only a few seconds passed before the infirmary door opened again. Believing it was Asia, he spoke casually. Issei. You forgot the money, right Asia? I'm not who you think Issei-kun. The brunette reacted to the voice that had reached the room, only to put on a cold and serious expression. Issei. What are you doing here? Minagawa-sensei. The aforementioned only opened the curtain where the brunette was resting, to reveal the Hexi teacher who had arrived. Minagawa. Issei-kun, we need to talk. Issei. I thought it was clear that you and I would not talk anymore, that it was just a game to you. Minagawa. Please Issei-kun, I was wrong about. Issei. Like, playing with my feelings, then having the soccer team beat me up, then tying me to a chair and forcing me to watch you do it to the sports teacher over and over again. The girl just looked down, because what she did was true. Issei. Don't tell me you forgot, let me remind you how you played with me. Flashback. We see a chestnut tree that was already in its first half of the school year. At first it was very difficult for him, since within the first week he arrived, the bad reputation his sisters had created for him was already spreading throughout the school. But just a month ago, he managed to connect with one of the youngest teachers on campus, Miss Minagawa-Kane. They began a beautiful relationship that went beyond that of teacher-student, to the point that the teacher was the first kiss of a brunette who no longer had the desire to continue at the academy. The chestnut tree and the teacher got along great for a month. But in this life it cannot be rosy, and Issei knew that, but he never expected that life itself would show it to him in the worst way. One day, the brunette was waiting for the teacher at the door of the academy when the soccer team arrived and, as usual, she beat him up because of the rumors of him being a pervert and looking at the cheerleaders, where most of them were partners of a boy from that club. But that day was worse than usual, because after they finished beating him, they took him to the sports warehouse, where they kept the exercise equipment, tied him to a chair and left the place laughing, but not before the captain said a phrase that filled him with concern. Captain. I hope you enjoy our gift. As he closed the door, the brown-haired boy began to wake up completely, only to hear moans from that place. Extra teacher. How delicious, what does it do Minagawa-sensei? Minagawa. Yes, book me harder, make me feel like a woman. The professor stabbed faster, while the woman moaned, noticing the brunette who was already awake and seeing his face of horror for witnessing that act, the girl spoke. Minagawa. Hello Issei, I hope you enjoy seeing how a real man makes me feel like a woman. The professor was in his own world and didn't notice anyone else was there. For half an hour, the couple acted disrespectfully in front of the brunette, who now had a blank stare. After unleashing his last charge, the teacher separated from the girl and turned to see where the brunette was, who was terrified because he had never been told another person would be witnessing this. Extra teacher. You bucking bitch, you never told me what we would do in front of a student. Minagawa. I care about your thoughts, but that's not what you were saying while you were doing it. The professor left the warehouse alone, leaving the chestnut tied up. A few minutes after getting ready, the teacher went to the brunette, stole a kiss from an already emotionless Issei, and spoke into his ear. Minagawa. I hope you enjoyed all this, idiot, your brothers were right, you're just a useless boy. The girl left the warehouse with a feeling of discomfort in her groin, while the brunette sat with a blank stare, as if his mind had vanished. The same week after that act, the teacher stopped going to school and was fired for his lack of commitment to the institution, something that mattered little to the teacher, since he had already committed that act. After that, the brown-haired man met the girl who he hoped would help him fix things, and then disappeared. Halfway through the second year, the teacher, like everyone else, found out that everything they'd been saying about the brunette was pure lies created by Issei's brothers, all mere pranks that cost the boy his life. The teacher only regretted having done that, especially in front of the boy, who, by believing those rumors, had ruined what could have been a beautiful relationship. End of flashback. Issei. So, you've remembered what you did to me. I thought I'd be happy with you, but I was wrong. Then Mikado arrived, but it was the same. They just made me see that people are ungrateful after doing everything for you. The girl just stood crying in front of him as she fell to her knees. Minagawa. Please Issei-kun, I'm really sorry about. Issei. I told those two idiots from the kendo club, and I'm telling you. There's a long line waiting to ask for my forgiveness, which will never come, but if it ever did, you and Mikado would be the last to forgive. The brunette opened the door to the infirmary, only to see his ex-girlfriend with tears in her eyes, as she had heard that conversation. Issei. I hope that with this, you will also stop looking for me, but knowing both of you I know it will be impossible, so just leave me alone and nothing will happen. As he walked beside her he only whispered something to her, but to her demon ear she heard it clearly. Issei. And that goes for your stupid mistress, tell her to leave me alone. As she left the infirmary and left a teacher crying silently, she saw him coming towards her with lunch and some juice in his hand. Asia. Issei-san, I was already going with you to eat lunch. Issei. I know, but the infirmary seems like a horrible place to me, let's go to the roof, we'll be calm there. Asia. Yes, let's go. The boys walked towards the school roof, leaving two girls crying silently. But later. Classes had ended, students were starting to return to their classes or go to their respective clubs. The brown-haired boy along with Asia, who no longer belonged to the occult club, went to the university to go for Rias and the others, who lived in Issei's house. The brown-haired boy received a message that they were waiting for him and the others at the university cafeteria to have tea with him. Upon arriving at the place, Issei along with Asia went where Rias and the others were already waiting for him, but as soon as he arrived, a pocket space appeared. Issei. Rias, what's wrong? Rias. I don't know, I didn't do this. Indeed, I was the one who did it. The boy saw that through the entrance of the cafeteria that led to the building, on the other side where the chestnut tree was coming from, some people whom they did not want to see appeared. Rias. Hyoudou Hanabi, what does this mean? Hanabi. I only come with my parody to talk to my rebellious brother. Hime. Please Oni-chan, it's time for you to go home. Winri. See Oni-chan. Rito. I only came to be the queen of Hanabi, my only interest is to know where you had gone, after all, it's because of you that I. Hanabi. Enough Rito, what you and Saji did is nameless, because of you Issei Nai suffered a lot. Behind the Hyoudou's discussion were the girls who belonged to Hanabi's now entourage, something that Issei noticed when he saw the same mark on their hands as Zenobia. But they all had a semi-dull look. Issei. You can know what the Hyoudou family wants. Hanabi and the others stopped fighting when they heard Issei referring to them, with a thick and hateful voice. Hanabi. We came to talk to you, brother. We were worried because you disappeared from one day to the next, and all because. Rias. It's all his fault. Iridide intervened because in her opinion it was somewhat hypocritical to see that the people who had once been by Issei's side and made him suffer now came seeking his forgiveness. Rito. Rias, this is none of your business, it's a family problem. Akeno. That's no way to talk to a lady, that's why we never fell for your conquest tricks. The girl with the ponytail emphasized the last word, looking at the girls in front of her, who made faces of disgust. Zenobia. Shut up, we know we did the right thing and not be with a pervert, right girls? The others wanted to nod, but just seeing the brunette in front of them, something told them that they had made a mistake. The Kuoh. Look how he defends him, but of course they chose a piece of trash, who steals credit and makes people look bad. Sona. In fact, I'm not surprised to see a retinue of self-interested and hypocritical people, because my old retinue was the same, they only follow an idiot and useless good-for-nothing dragon. Rito. You damn bitches shut up, you should have been by my side and Saji's side as it should be, but you will learn that you should not speak ill of the Hyoudou entourage. The boy materialized Drake's glove and quickly launched a dragon shoot towards the girls who spoke badly of him. Tsubaki. Akeno-san, Sona-sama be careful. Tsubaki's scream was too late because when she said it, that ball of energy was already close to the girls. The others were shocked by what the older Hyoudou had done to his former teammates. Hanabi. Rito, that wasn't necessary, you shouldn't have done that. Rito. They deserved that, they shouldn't speak ill of. Out of nowhere the boy flew, because he didn't see what hit him, he only felt a sharp pain in his stomach and impact with the wall of the building where they were standing. The others were impressed to see that the brown-haired man was in a strange position and then noticed that in the place where the impact smoke from Rito's attack on the two girls was, there was a rock wall that protected them. Issei. You're a huge idiot. The eldest Hyoudou was impressed as she couldn't see what time he made that movement. Hanabi. I think you went too far Issei Nai. Issei. Quite the contrary, I was merciful to him. It's better if you leave now and… The chestnut tree didn't finish saying his sentence because a magic circle had appeared in the place where 5 people came out of there. Issei. What I was missing, now you come to buck up period hair. The atmosphere was extremely heavy in that place. This was just the beginning of Issei's new life. Chapter 4. An unexpected return, the movements begin. Kuoh University cafeteria. The atmosphere was denser than one could imagine within the dimension surrounding the cafe. On one side, the praised and beloved Sekiryuutei was stuck in the wall, his wounds appearing as blood gushed from his head. His sister's peerage, along with his fiancées, came to his aid. On the other side, the one who had once belonged to the Hyoudou family, stood alongside the girls who loved him, who only stared at a stone wall that protected them. In between these two sides, 5 more people had appeared. The 3 faction leaders, as well as the parents of the brown-haired girls. Seeing their favorite son, both parents went to where he was still unconscious on the wall. Mickey. Son, what happened to you? Boru. What happened to my boy? Hanabi. What happened is that the idiot wanted to attack Sona and Akeno, but Issei Nai defended them. Both parents turned to look at the aforementioned with different faces. Boru looked seriously at the boy, while Mickey gave him a sad look. Issei. What do you want now, period hairs? The comment made both Azazel and Michael hold back their laughter, but Sirzechs' forehead vein popped out as he didn't like the comment itself. Sirzechs. Vira's Issei-kun, Nozo. He was quickly interrupted as a rock dagger passed by him, causing a small cut on his cheek. Issei. What did I tell you about talking to me so familiarly? Everyone fell silent upon seeing such a reaction, which caused the redeed to simply touch his cheek to clean the wound. Sirzechs. I understand, but you should know that your family and I have a great proposition for you and I would like. At that, the brunette turned around and started walking to the other side, followed by the girls, causing them to ignore the redeed, who became serious. Sirzechs. Hyoudou Issei, listen when I speak to you, you must be on the side of the demons, as a son of the Gremory family it is you. Like last time, Sirzechs was interrupted as he felt everyone suddenly grow taller. This was a result of the brunette literally burying him back into the ground. Our honey-eyed man just turned his gaze to see a redeed who looked like a red cauliflower fresh out of the ground. Issei. I already told you Gremory, you and Mr. Hyoudou are the last thing I want to see, just like my brothers, well if you can call them family right. With a serious look he observed the other members of his family helping to get his brother off the wall. I can only tell you that what you and they offer me will have no value to me. At that his hand began to glow, revealing a wooden stick which surprised both Michael and Azazel, who had been mere observers until that moment. Michael. Wait, that staff you have is… Issei. Exactly Angel, what you see here is one of the sacred gear that was believed to be lost. Azazel. But how is that possible? Issei. Well, unlike the other sacred gears, which the system has under control, this one chooses its successor. Both angels were surprised to see that staff, which was a normal piece of wood, but in the end it was carved into a master. The others didn't know what those 2 leaders, who weren't buried in the ground like a certain tomato, were talking about. So curiosity got the better of them. Sona. Excuse me Michael-sama, but what is that staff? Michael. That is the divine staff. This staff belonged to those who have brought great change to the world. Azazel. This staff was once carried by Moses, Noah, and the young man who became the son of his father. Arena. It refers to Michael. Exactly, I mean Jesus. Everyone in the cafeteria plaza was more than impressed by that fact, but the ones who were left in shock were the trio from the church. Asia. Wait, you mean our Lord Jesus Christ, isn't he the Son of God? Michael. No, he was a human like everyone else, but like Issei, he was also the possessor of that staff. Azazel. Only that he had great mastery of that power that the staff gave him to the point of performing miracles, but it was really the power of the elements that sacred gear provided. The brunette was only serious because of how they talked about his sacred gear, then he tapped the floor surrounding the pocket area twice to impress everyone. This because the space began to destroy, causing the supernatural beings to quickly change their clothes. The older brunette went from being trapped in the wall to falling to the floor, and Sirzechs went from being buried in the ground to lying on the floor. Issei. I only give a warning once, I don't like to repeat things, and this goes for you demons and Hyoudou family. The brown-haired boy only turned to look at the aforementioned, who looked at the boy with sadness. Issei. Don't come looking for my forgiveness again, because you won't get it. Nor ask me to join a demon parody entourage, because I don't trust their leader. Don't talk to me, don't spy on me, and stay away from me. The only contact I'll have with the factions is through Rias, Sona, Asia, Tsubaki, or Penim. If the leaders of the other two factions need anything from me, they'll go to them. Quickly, the chestnut stuck his staff in the palm of his hand, but before it touched the chestnut skin, it began to disappear until nothing remained. Issei. That child who was only humiliated, harassed, hit, abused or deceived has died, and he died because you killed him with all your hatred towards me. The brown-haired boy began walking toward a path that connected to the university gardens and off campus, which was followed by the girls he had mentioned, and who, of course, never harmed him. Issei. By the way, Mr. Hyoudou, the aforementioned man raised his head upon hearing it. It's best if you find another source of income for your division, since the support you received from Hyoudou Enterprises, my grandfather's capital, will no longer provide financial support to the area you manage. The father was shocked by what he heard and began to get angry. Boru. But what are you talking about, that division? Issei. That commercial research division will close to create a new one. If you want to keep your department, do so, but outside the company, your trusted people can also come with you. Without looking back, the boys disappeared from sight into the crowd of students at the institution. The brunette's mothers, sisters, and ex-girlfriend, upon hearing these words, fell to their knees and began to cry silently. Because he had literally told them that they had hurt him. On the other hand, his brother looked at him dirty for making the aforementioned girls cry. Issei's father looked at him with hatred because he had kicked him out of his father's company. The leaders of Heaven and Gregory decided to leave the place, leaving an equally angry Sirzechs, since they had already humiliated him twice in a row in the same way. Academy nursing. At Kuoh Academy, or more precisely in the infirmary, we see a mature woman wearing glasses, which hid a great beauty. The girl in question was looking over some papers on the table, but one of them had an unparalleled shine. Wow, so this guy is the possessor of this power. From what I see, he's barely mastered the 4 basic elements. Still, I can see a great future for him. Plus, he's very handsome. The girl licked her lips as she saw Issei through the leaf, with his serious character that was now known to him. It will be fun to train him and prepare him for the upcoming battles. Student council room. In the council room there were 2 people who were having an intimate moment, or so a certain dull blonde-haired man thought. Saji. Come on Momo-chan, let me mark you as mine, as it should be. Momo. I already told you no, the fact that I'm part of your harem is due to an obligation and threat from Lucifer-sama, but that doesn't mean I have to be yours. The girl got up from the chair and slapped the blonde. Momo. You know that, I renounced being your peer and fiancé. I don't know how you let me convince you to be part of your beloved ones. The blonde man got angry with that blow and slapped the girl, causing her to fall to the ground and him to get on top of her. Saji. No Momo, you don't understand, you are mine and you will be from now on, just like stupid Mikado you will easily fall before a great dragon. Momo. Stop it Saji, you're hurting me. The girl began to struggle with the aforementioned, who applied more force in his grip and managed to take the girl's hands with his left hand. He proceeded to remove the girl's vest. Momo. Stop it what? What's the smell? Saji. Wow, it seems you detected the pheromones that a dragon can release. With this I subdued the idiot Mikado and made her mine several times. Well, I continued with that idiot Issei, and now it's your turn. Momo. Enough, please someone help me. Saji. There's no one around my dear Momo, everyone is with that idiot Issei, trying to capture him or make him the demon dog, so we'll enjoy this for a while. The boy ripped off the girl's clothing, leaving her bra exposed. The girl began to cry in despair because her first time would be taken by force and by a person she thought she loved, but it was a lie. Saji. Let's have fun. 5. It was the sound that was caused when colliding with one of the walls of the academy. The girl only saw that above her head, what seemed to be the concrete floor of the classroom, it took the shape of a diagonal pillar. At his side appeared his former mistress, along with Rias and the former vice presidents of the occult club and the former student council. The black-haired woman brought her back up, sitting her on her knees, while she continued to sob. Issei. You're a damn coward. The albino looked at the door, where that voice came from, only to notice that there was that boy that everyone despised last year. Momo. Hyoudou Issei. The brown-haired boy, without taking his eyes off Saji, made several movements, which gained the girl's curiosity, but she turned around when she heard a scream. Saji. Enough Issei, you're hurting me, please let me go. The girl turned to look at the idiot Saji, only to notice that he had been captured by the wall where he was embedded, leaving his head free. Sona. How low you have fallen Saji, look at trying to grape Momo just to make her yours, the male Leviathan will know this. The boy in question was scared by what was said, because after the mistakes he had already made in the past, the demonic council and the four mass had given him an ultimatum. Saji. Please Sona-sama, don't tell the mass anything. Sona. You should have thought about that before committing this act. Saji. But if she's my girlfriend, it's normal that she can do this. Tsubaki. Did you forget her contract with you? The boy just made a joke out of annoyance because he was able to remember things like a whale could fly, meaning there was no compatibility between them. Momo. Remember, if I didn't fall in love with you in 8 months, I wouldn't get married. I thought you were changing, but I see that you're not. Issei. What do I do with Sona? Sona. Without releasing him from that prison, make him fall from the wall, I'll send him to my sister. The girl just sighed in heaviness and I was thinking of having a quiet afternoon with you, but now I have to report this idiot. The brunette obeyed the girl with glasses and peeled him off the wall, without releasing him. At that, Sona placed a seal on the boy, preventing him from using his powers. Sona. I'll see you later at the house, come on Tsubaki, come with me. The girl understood and went to his side. They stood on either side of the boy and disappeared through a magic circle. The brunette noticed that the symbol they had left through was different. Issei. So it's true, they excluded them from their clan's right. Rias. You noticed it right? Issei. Yes, Sona's retreat seal was different from the one she usually used when she was here. Rias. Both she and I and with Ross's help we had to create a seal for ourselves, it is more tiring to use, but this way we can go to the underworld. The brown-haired boy nodded and looked at the girl, who was trembling with fear at what had happened. Issei. Calm down, it's over. Momo. Thank you Hyoudou-san. Issei. Call me Issei, I don't like being called by that last name. Momo. Oh okay, boo, but what are you doing here? Issei. Well, I came to talk to that idiot to see what clubs were available at the academy. It's obvious that the occult club is made up of the idiots of the Hyoudou. Rias. That's correct, Hanabi is the president and Kamei is the vice president. Issei. I see, that's why I came to see which clubs are closed and I'll gladly reopen them. Momo. Well, the karate club is available, but if you want something more relaxed, the literature club is available. Issei. It seems fine to me. At that, the girl, a little calmer, went to Zenovia's desk, who took a form and gave it to the brunette. Momo. You have 1 week to submit this form. There must be at least 5 people for the club to open and an advisor to support them. Issei. I understand, well it's time to look for the members. Momo. If you allow me, I know your second element, I imagine Asia-san will be the first. The chestnut-haired boy nodded and gave the leaf to the girl. Momo. You see, she writing a name on the sheet of paper and then giving it to the brunette is more than willing to be in your club. The boy looked at the name and was surprised. Issei. Safe. Momo. Yes, after you fill out the form, come and leave it with Zenovia Kaicho. Issei. Okay, I understand. Well, it's time to go, and please be careful. Momo. Don't worry. Both the brown-haired boy and the 3 girls who came with him left the room, leaving Momo a little calmer, who closed the door to the room. Issei. What do you think will happen to Saji? Rias. Knowing the treatment my brother is giving him, it's most likely that they will only remove Momo from Saji's parody. Issei. But that would be bad, they would leave her at the mercy of any lustful demon who. Rias. Don't worry, she'll be safe. Issei. Why do you say that? Rias. Unlike my idiot brother, Serafal supported Sona and hasn't left her alone, it's just that she doesn't have time to see us because of the deals they're making with the other factions to fight against the Chaos Brigade. Issei. You don't know much about them yet, right? Rias. We only know that an ancient demon is their leader, but we have only received attacks from renegade demons and traitors to the demon faction, but we still don't know who is behind them. Issei. I arrived at a better time. He answered sarcastically. Asia. Don't worry Issei-san, we will be by your side. Akeno. It's true Kohai-kun. The girl hugged him putting his head between her breasts. Your dear senpai will protect you from everything. Rias. Enough Akeno. She expressed it with fury. You're drowning Issei. The girl turned to look at the aforementioned, only to notice how he had spiral eyes. Akeno. Ara, it seems I found Kohai-kun's weakness, Yufufu. Rias. It's time to go, looks like she ran out of air. The three of them took Issei by their arms and pulled him towards an alley, only to form a seal and head to the brown-haired boy's house. Time skip. Sky 6th floor. In heaven there was a certain angel who was looking at some documents that he had kept in a gold-colored drawer. Michael. Wow, so the power that father gave is strong. The angel just closed the folder and looked up at the ceiling. Michael. It would be a mistake to force Issei to join the factions, but we could offer him a deal. From the bag of the robe he was wearing, he took out a large seal, placed his hand on it, and began to place a little of his energy. Seconds later several hologram figures appeared on the table, but the most outstanding among them was that old man with a long beard. Azazel. What's wrong Michael? Auden. Brad, what do you need? Seraphol. Hello everyone. Michael. Thank you for taking my call. Auden. Tell us, what is this meeting for and where is that brat Lucifer? Michael. Well, he's not here because he's part of the problem I'm going to mention to you. This clearly caught the attention of the Norse god. It did not surprise Azazel, and Seraphol gave him an idea from a visit he received a few hours ago. Michael. Auden, I must tell you something that may be delicate. Auden. Tell me, what is it? Michael. The user of the divine staff has been born once again. This clearly caught the Nordic man's attention and he began to stroke his beard. Auden. The appearance of this human only indicates one thing. With that, he placed his hands on his table, like a bench to rest his head. A great change is coming, not only to the supernatural world, but also to the human world. Everyone was worried about what had been said, the Nordic knew something. Azazel. Just because father created that weapon doesn't mean. Auden. Brat, maybe you don't remember or you were too young, but with Moses and especially with Jesus, the changes they brought were so great that they impacted humanity, to the point that, with the birth of that little boy, humans have divided time. Seraphol. That's true, I remember my grandfather telling us that the order of the underworld came after humans died and put an end to the corruption of souls. Auden. What I don't understand is why Sirzechs isn't here. Michael. Let's just say the current user and Sirzechs don't get along. Azazel. He actually distrusts us too, but I understand, his family despises him for the fact that he was of no use to the supernatural world a year ago. Auden. It's a real problem. But what do you suggest? Seraphol. I say we make an alliance with him, from what my sister told me that boy trusts her and Rias-san. Auden. Wait a minute, the guy they're telling me about is Roswis's old friend. Seraphol. Indeed. Auden. Who would have thought, that boy went from being a nobody to someone important to humanity. Michael. What do you plan to do? Auden. I will send Roswis to Kuoh once more and she will serve as the boy's bodyguard. It will be seen as an act of good faith on the part of the Norse and we will need all the help. Azazel. Don't tell me, Loki again. Auden. Indeed, a year ago he almost managed to create Ragnarok, the time I visited them, but now I find out that he is one of the generals of the Chaos Brigade. This alarmed everyone in that conversation. Azazel. But what are you saying? From what I know your son sees others as inferior beings. Auden. I know, but he and the brigade leader share the same ideology of subduing humans and those who are weak to them. Seraphol. First Kateria, then Shalba and now Loki, damn we are in serious trouble. Azazel. Things are about to get worse from the looks of it, I think I speak for everyone when I say we'll need this boy's help. Auden. I think I'll send Roswis and the 5 Valkyries under her training today. Saying this, I draw the attention of the others. The girls are good in combat, but I'd like to say the same about their intellectual side. Michael. The more help, the better. Azazel. Well, it's better to retreat and look for more information about the Chaos Brigade, just thinking that Loki is already with them is very worrying. Without saying anything else, everyone disconnected. Returning to Michael's office, he just leaned back in his seat and stared at the ceiling. Michael. Please, father, don't leave us alone in this fight. In a somewhat gloomy castle, we see several people gathered around a long table in the main hall. Among the chairs in that room, one stood out among the others due to its size. Okay Shalba, how are we doing with the random attacks on the factions? Shalba. Even with the help of the Sekiryuutei they have not been able to stop us, we have obtained victories with their losses, and we have been collecting information about that beast you seek. Excellent, Loki, how are we doing? Loki. Those fools from the hero faction have served us well. Manipulating them into supporting their ideals has helped, and they also left a portion of Asgard in ashes. It was a small village, but defeating demigods was what pleased them. Well, now all that's left is for Gabriel to report back and see how he progresses in creating conflict within the Biblical Alliance. At that moment there was a knock on the living room door, where a brunette girl with glasses and a great body entered, but she came with a worried face. What happened, Kateria? Kateria. Risevim, we have a big problem. The aforementioned was an albino guy who seemed to have rejuvenated. Risevim. What's going on? Kateria. Gabriel is dead. What was said made the members who were there look at the girl in question. Risevim. Don't tell me the Sekiryuutei did it. Kateria. That useless one, not even with the help of the white man could they defeat me. Do you think they could defeat Gabriel at his best? Shalba. So. Kateria. We still have no idea who it was, we only know that he used something strange to kill him, since the blood on the floor didn't have anything other than dirt. Loki. So a filthy human or insignificant supernatural being killed him with his own hands. Kateria. We don't want to believe that, but it's a possibility. Risevim. He died in confidence, but we leave his death aside, it's time to look for the information on the seal. Loki. I will ask the hero faction again to go, now I will tell them where to attack and take that information, the attack will be in 2 weeks. Risevim. I think it's excellent, now if you'll excuse me. At that, the albino-haired boy walked over to where the brunette was and quickly grabbed her butt with his hand. Risevim. I'm going to have some fun, see you later. The girl blushed and went to the old man's side and entered a room, the others only left the room before they started to hear the girl moan like crazy. Asgard. In the throne chamber, Odin was with his wife talking and giving each other healthy affection, despite being a pervert, then the permission to enter the chamber is heard, where he indicated to his guard to open the door. As he entered, a beautiful Valkyrie he knew entered in her battle dress. Roswis. I have come at your call, Odin-sama. Odin. Thank you very much for coming, Valkyrie Roswis, I entrust you with a new mission. The girl felt your mission is to go back to Kuoh, you and your group of students will go to the city and serve as bodyguards for a certain boy. Roswis. Understood, I just hope it's not the Sekiryuutei or I'll have to deny the quest. Odin. I assure you it's not him, in fact, it's that boy who supported you while you were there. The girl only thought of one person and remembered the brunette, who despite the fact that she got lost in a recommendation made to her by the father of everything in the city, he kindly helped her. Roswis. Don't tell me that. Odin. You will go to Miss Ria's new house and you and your team will report, I know she offered you to be part of her entourage, but now things are different. In fact, the girl as such never belonged to Ria's clan, although she offered it to her, but she had the argument that she would not stay long, since Odin sent her on a mission to find the new bearer of the red, but he was disappointed to see what she was like. Odin. So you accept? Roswis. Yes my lord, I will soon leave with a group of Valkyries that I train. Odin. Sounds good to me. The girl bowed and walked towards a hall in the lower part of the Asgard palace, where 5 girls were fighting in a royal rumble. Roswis. Okay girls, that's all. The girls, upon seeing their leader, stopped their fight and stood in an orderly fashion. Imagine them in Valkyria clothes. Roswis. Okay, get everything ready, we're going on a mission. The girls. Yes, sir. What will happen to the supernatural world when it learns of the new power that has resurfaced? Chapter 5. Reinforcements arrive, the first attack is made. Hyoudou Issei's mansion. We find ourselves at Issei's new mansion, where he and his group of girlfriends were living as comfortably as possible. In the courtyard of the house, we see the brown-haired man, who was wearing only comfortable pants. The sweat on his body was noticeable in the reflection of the sun hitting him. The boy breathed calmly, then put on a serious look. Issei. Now. Without further ado, his hands began to release fire to throw it forward, as if he were dancing and creating whips to attack. His feet were also uncovered and did the same as his hands, fire came out of the soles of his feet when he kicked the air. In the courtyard's rest area, Rias and the others watched the brown-haired boy very closely, impressed by the way he trained. Asia. Issei-sen is amazing, how he can expel fire in such a way. Tsubaki. It's impressive that the fire he generates doesn't just come from his hands. Rias. But we still don't know what Isa's real power is. Sona. It's true, the power of her sacred gear is a mystery to everyone, my sister sent me a message yesterday telling me that the leaders of the other factions have been impressed by its appearance. The brunette continued his training, punching and kicking at nothing, and the fire continued to flow out. After a few minutes, the brunette ended his training by taking a deep breath and stopping his fire. The Keno, who had a wet towel in her hands on her way to where the brunette was, placed the cloth around the boy's neck to cool him off and then stole a kiss on his lips. The Keno. You're amazing, Anata. Issei. Thank you, Akeno-san, but it's not that bad. The Keno. What are you saying? Seeing how you expel fire and control the distance it travels is something very few can control, even with their magic. Sona. It's true, not even your idiot brother has as much control with flames as you do, and you're not a dragon or anything like that. Issei. Wow, so he's just a fool with power. Asia. Stop thinking about that, Issei-san, we must get ready to go to school. Issei. That's true, we must hurry. The brown-haired boy just took his things and began to enter the house, leaving the others with a smile. The girls were following him, but then the magic circle with a Leviathan symbol had appeared in front of Sona and Rias. Sona. Sister, what's wrong? Serafal. Good morning, Sotan, you've missed your sister a lot. Sona. I don't have time for this, we're late for college. Serafal. How mean you are, I just wanted to say hello, but well, I'll let you know that today new people will arrive with you. Rias. Excuse me, but what did you just say? She said with clear astonishment. Serafal. Hello Rias-san, it's a pleasure to see you, well I'll get to the point, the leaders of the alliance except for your idiot brother, have decided to send a bodyguard for the bearer of the divine rod. Rias. Bodyguard. Serafal. Yes, an old friend of Issei who always supported him in the worst moments. Rias. Ah, you mean Roswas, it's nice to have her back after what that idiot Rito wanted to do. Serafal. Yes, she along with a group of Valkyries will be in Kuoh as protectors of the boy. Sona. It won't be very suspicious to have them at school. Serafal. Don't worry, we've thought about how to incorporate them and we've also made several changes to the management of Kuoh Academy. Rias. Changes. Issei. What changes? Both Sona and Rias were impressed by the quick arrival of the brunette who was already wearing his Kuoh school uniform, which was too tight for him due to his great physical change. Serafal. Hello, Issei-kun. Greeting in a cheerful tone. Issei. Serafal-sama. He answered with great respect. Serafal. You shouldn't be so cold to me, but don't worry, the change is that the current principal has established an agreement with me to admit new students and teachers, as he did with you. Therefore, the Gremory family and the Hyoudou family should not be aware of the incorporations of students and teachers. Issei. It's serious, the best, but well I say goodbye because I have to go have breakfast to go to the academy. Sona and Rias, don't be late, breakfast is already served. Rias. Let's go Ice. Sona. Well sister, thanks for letting us know, we'll see you later. Serafal. Wait, when will we go? Without further ado, the call was cut off by Sona herself, who only had a face of regret for what had been said. Sona. When will you stop thinking about these weird icky things? Rias. I'm not sure, but we should hurry, we'll be late to go to college. Without further ado, the two boys went to where the brunette and the others were already waiting for them to have their traditional Japanese breakfast, the breakfast that the Redede loved so much, since it was rice and fried fish to start the day off right. Later. As had become customary, the brunette in the company of the blonde left Rias and the others at the university, not without first giving each other a sweet kiss on the lips and then leaving for the academy. All of this under the gaze of the Hyoudou siblings who could only watch from afar, all with different expressions on their faces, from anger, through jealousy and sadness, was how they saw the actions that the brunette did. After that, Issei and Asia arrived at the classroom where he was not received by anyone else, since the others looked at him with regret and sorrow for the beatings they gave him last year and called him a traitor. Only two girls were glaring at Issei, and they were the girls from the Kendo club, or rather, the ones who belonged to said club. The blow Caddis and Murayama had given him had consequences. Murayama. Damn, if it weren't for Hyoudou moving and me hitting him, we'd still be part of the club. Caddis. Seriously, why did that pervert come back? We were better off without him. Murayama. I heard from your ex-girlfriend that she dumped you for being a loser and a pervert, I think you're right. Caddis. Poor Rias-sama, being next to that loser, it's better if she goes with Rito-sama. Murayama. That's true, if he is a real man, he wouldn't have allowed himself to be hit by my sword and with that even. Issei. Wow, so you never changed. Both girls looked towards the door to see the brunette with his uniform more than made and tight, allowing her to see his enormous chest that he had achieved. They are still the same gossipy girls from the classroom. Murayama. It's not what you think, you see, Nozo. Without further ado, the brown-haired woman along with Asia, who was once a friend of both of them, continued to their seats to wait for the start of classes. With 1 minute left, they noticed that the seats for the two perverts in the room, as well as 3 other extras, were vacant. From a height perspective, it would be a full row in front of the brunette and the blonde that was left empty. Minugawa. Good morning, guys. Everyone except the brunette responded, which saddened the teacher. Well, today we have new additions to the academy, 6 to be specific. The others just spoke in low voices, while the brown-haired boy closed his eyes because he wasn't interested in this. Minagawa. Today I want to introduce you to the new math teacher and 5 students who will be taking the empty seats left by their classmates. At that moment, he sees a student raise her hand to ask to speak. Yes, Irina-san. Irina. What happened to them? Minagawa. Well, your classmates Mitsuda and Motohama were caught spying on the girls in the swimming club yesterday, but this time they crossed the line by carrying cameras. They were expelled and prosecuted. On the part of the others and on orders from the director, supported by Vice Director Azazel, they were relocated to other classrooms. Hearing this, the brunette knew the alliance had done its part to place the girls who would be his bodyguards. He was actually against it, especially since he wasn't part of the alliance. Minagawa. Well, without further ado, let me introduce you to your classmates. Ladies, please come in. Without further ado, 5 girls had entered through the door to reveal beautiful beauties who had stood in front of the entire class. Minagawa. They may as well introduce themselves. Nice to meet you, my name is Itsuki Nakano. Hello everyone, my name is Yatsuba Nakano, I hope we get along. Nice to meet you, my name is Miku Nakano. Hello, my name is Nino Nakano. It's a pleasure to meet you, my name is Ichika Nakano. The entire class was more than impressed, especially the boys, because right in front of them, a beauty had arrived in their classroom. Minagawa. You can sit in front of your partner Ice. At that the brunette gave her a serious look, which saddened the girl even more. I'm sorry in front of your partner Hyoudou-san. The 5 looked at the boy and recognized him as the one they were supposed to protect. Without further ado, the 5 took their seats to continue with the activity. Minagawa. Now, your new teacher will arrive at the next hour, well let's start the class in the years approaching the 20th century, Japan. The teacher's class, who still felt those feelings towards the brunette continued, giving small glances towards the boy, who didn't care in the least about her class, something that continued to depress her. At the end of class, the teacher had a sad expression, sensing Issei's indifference to paying attention to her, even in her own class. The students quickly surrounded the girls in the short break between classes to talk to them. Student 3. You are more than welcome. Zenobia. As student council president, I welcome you to Kuoh Academy. The girls thanked him for the gesture, then looked at the brunette, who was having a pleasant conversation with Asia, who showed a beautiful smile. Then they noticed how Rina and Zenobia put on a sad look when they saw this. Student 2. It's a shame they had to be in front of Hyoudou. Ichika. Why do you say that? Murayama. Because he's a pervert who makes things bad for girls. Hadis. That's true, it was because of him that we were expelled from the club yesterday. Nino. Is that true? The other students didn't know what to say so they looked the other way. Itsuki. So what Commander Roswa said was true. Flashback. Already settled in their temporary home in the city of Kuoh, Roswas and the others ate their meals at the table in the house. Roswas. Okay girls, I want to tell you something. The others turned to look at her. Tomorrow we begin the protection of this boy. She said showing a photo of Issei, but in it her fake laugh was noticeable. Itsuba. What's wrong with that boy? Roswas. You see, this boy is the brother of the current Sekiryuutei. Nino. That perverted breast-loving dragon. I imagine he must be just like his brother. Roswas. Quite the opposite, Issei-kun is one of the best boys I've ever met, but because of his brothers, he's gotten a reputation for being a loser, a pervert, and a traitor. Miku. Which isn't true, right? Roswas. Correct, please see him tomorrow and don't believe the other girls' gossip, as far as I know his life has been miserable, but when we had the opportunity to talk we got along great. Itsuki. You think highly of him, Commander. Roswas. Well he defended me from the op-eye dragon trying to mark me, but he received punishment from the others. Upon hearing that, Odin sent me back to Asgard. The others just looked angry at what they had heard, believing that the nominee for the pillar of the factions would do such a thing, displeased them. End of flashback. Itsuki. And what do you think? He said looking at another girl. Student 4. I really prefer not to talk about that. At that the classroom door opens to reveal a girl with silver hair and a great figure entering the classroom. Roswas. Hey students, let me introduce myself, I'm the new math teacher for this group. She looked at the class and noticed where the boy who had helped her during the worst moment of her life was. The brunette, on the other hand, with a serious look but with a smile, nodded, giving her the greeting she was looking for. Okay, my name is Roswas, now let's start with the class. The class marked the course of time, and with it the glances of Issei and Ross collided, only to transmit something warm between them. She knew that the brunette once considered her his friend, and that the relationship they had created in a short time was still present. When class ended, everyone started putting away their things, but at that moment the teacher spoke. Roswis. Before I go, Hyoudou-san, please, I need you to accompany me. Issei. Did I do something wrong? Roswis. I noticed that he started to fall asleep in the last 10 minutes, so we'll go to the teacher's lounge and talk about this topic. The brunette knew that was a lie, but what the girl said was a clear message that she wanted to talk to him, so they both left the room murmuring inside. Student 6. It's not fair, he hadn't done anything. Student 5. I imagine the rumors about him reached the new teacher. Murayama. He deserves it. Everyone, including Zenobia, turned to look at the girl who spoke. Zenobia. Hey, just because I kicked you out of the club for your behavior towards Issei doesn't mean you're going to take it out on him. The others nodded and left both the brunette and her peach-haired friend with their gaze lowered. Irina. Hey, do you think Roswis-san will scold Issei-kun? Zenobia. I don't know, what do you think, Asia? Without further ado, the aforementioned woman just took her cell phone and began to check her social profiles, completely ignoring the question that the blue-haired girl had asked her, which provoked the girl's anger. Irina. Forget it, Zenobia, the relationship with Argento-san will never be the same, nor with. The girl with pigtails made a sad expression when she saw the Sekiryuutei mark on her hand, something she began to regret after months of knowing the terrible truth. How she let the Hyoudou brothers' lies kill the childhood friendship and love she had for the brunette. On the other hand, the brunette followed the silver-haired girl to the schoolyard, where she sat down and invited the boy to sit down. Issei. I'm glad you're here, Rosan. Roswis. Issei-kun, I'm really excited that you're back with us. You don't know how hard it was to be your brother's partner in Rias-san's old entourage. Issei. Yes, he told me what happened, but let's leave that behind. I don't want to remember things from the past, and tell me, what do you need from me? Roswis. You see, Sama and the others except Lucifer had a meeting and revealed your power. Issei. Yes, I imagined it. Roswis. That's why I and the new girls were entrusted to protect you, they are Valkyries from a high-powered division. Issei. No wonder I felt a great power emanating from them, you know I don't like to depend on someone. Roswis. Even so, I agreed to come to be with my special friend. She simply hugged him and brought him to her chest, which made the brunette blush, but he reciprocated the hug. I missed you so much. Issei. Me too. The two were still hugging on that bench, but what they didn't notice was that there was another girl witnessing that scene. Minagawa. I want you to hug me too, Issei-kun. Without further ado, the girl left with a sadder expression than she had when leaving the previous class. Issei. By the way, we're opening the literature club, but there's no teacher assigned to be the guide yet. Roswis. Say no more, I will be your representative teacher. I affirmed with a smile, which made the brown-haired boy blush a little. After that, both Roswis and Issei returned to school to continue their activities, but knowing that they had one more ally to rely on. At the Chaos Brigade base, whose location was unknown to the Alliance, who had been trying to find them for over a year. We see Risevim with Kateria on his lap, facing them is a boy wearing a purple cape and black suit with a serious expression. Risevim. Well, it's time we hit those idiots where it hurts the most. Kateria. You mean that pathetic school, right? Risevim. Not only that, killing a few boys and raping the local girls while the Alliance can't defeat Crusoe's battalion is the best we can do and show them that it's a waste of time to want to unite against us. Crusoe. It's a good plan, tomorrow while they are in their pathetic activities I will strike that blow. Not even the idiot Sekiryuutei will be able to harm me. He said while expelling his power. Risevim. Well said, it's time for you to go and you'll have that rematch you've been asking for. Crusoe. Personally, I would like to see the face of the false Leviathan when she sees how I make her sister cry while I make her mine. A sick smile had appeared on the man's face. Without further ado, he just said goodbye and went to where his troops were waiting for him in a bar in the territory where they were hiding. Crusoe. Gentlemen, tomorrow we will attack the Alliance Academy. Demons? Yes. Crusoe. As I promised you, you will have a game with the young virgins that are there. Tomorrow you will enjoy all of this while we see the face of agony and despair on the part of the Alliance when they see that they will do nothing to stop us. Demons? Yes. Without further ado, they continued drinking that night and then rested and were ready for tomorrow's attack. The next day. It was 10 in the morning and activities at both the academy and the university had already begun. Issei's group had a free hour because their teacher on duty had been absent for personal reasons, so the group of Valkyries and Issei along with Asia were talking and getting to know each other better. Issei. So you're from the rescue group? Nino. Indeed, we try to prevent the supernatural world from harming humans. Asia. And how do they do it? Niku. Well, we created a more powerful pocket space than the one the demons use for express rating games. Issei. Well, I also know how to do the same, but for that I must have time and concentrate on performing that act. Itsuba. Issei-kun, what is your sacred gear like? Issei. Well, I still haven't learned much about her, she's a great mystery, and… At that, a magic circle formed in Itsuki's ear that no one but his group noticed. Itsuki? What? Understood. The girl quickly took a rune from her clothes and threw it on the ground, causing the other students to suddenly fall asleep. Issei. Did something bad happen? Itsuki. The Chaos Brigade began to appear in the vicinity of the academy. Asia. Nearby. Miku. Yes, yesterday we created a barrier that only those in the Alliance have access to. If another supernatural person tries to enter the academy, either on their own or through a magic circle, they will be sent to a space outside the academy. Ichika. And the Alliance will send the closest group, in this case. Issei. I can already imagine who's there, we should leave before they knock down the barrier. Without further ado, the 7 left the room without noticing that 2 people were missing. Trap zone. In the area mentioned by Miku we see Crusory's army with a surprised look. Crusory. What is this barrier? Demon 1. I don't know my lord, but out of nowhere he sent us to this place. Crusory. Don't waste time and let's destroy this damn thing, we must make the attack at once before. The original demon had not finished speaking, since in front of them a squad of the Alliance had arrived. In front of them, Hanabi Hyoudu's entourage was with a serious look. Hanabi. In the name of the Alliance of the Supernatural World, I Hanabi Hyoudou and my peers along with the allies will stop you. Crusory. Just look at that. Hanabi's entourage had an incredulous look on their faces. If they are the annoying Gremory family, what happened to their king, did he abandon them? Zenobia. But how is this possible, are you supposed to have died in the invasion during the game against Diodora? Crusory. Please, they don't know what an illusion is, I never died in that fight, I only sent a worthless soldier to die in my place, but now. At that moment he gives the signal, and all the demons under his control flew towards their opponents. I will take the head of the Sekiryuutei. Rito. We'll see about that. He said with his suit already on. Without further ado, the fight had begun, and both the renegade demons and those of the Alliance, including the angels and fallen angels who were in place, began their weapons fight. Hanabi's party began to fight higher-ranking demons, leaving Rito against the original demon. Rito began to launch rays from his hands that little by little were hitting his rival, at the same time Crusory returned that act with his demonic power which he tried to dodge. Right. Damn, you got stronger. Crusory. And not only that. Suddenly, the palace appears behind Rito and creates a dark sword. I'm faster than before. Without further ado, Rito tried to avoid a stab in the back from Asmodeus, but his speed was not accurate and he received the attack on his leg. Right. Aya. Without further ado, the boy launched a punch at Crusory's stomach to send him flying, but the impact was not as strong as the Hyoudou expected. Crusory. I have to admit that hit hurt me, idiot. Rubbing the blow and spitting a little saliva, he created another dark sword and looked determinedly at the Hyoudou, but it's not enough to stop me. Without further ado, he flew toward Rito, who quickly drew his sword Ascalon and took it in his dragon hand. The fight was too much for the boy, who was losing ground as time passed. As for the others, they had defeated Asmodeus's battalion, leaving them with quite a few injuries as a result. Zenobia. How is it possible that we fought so hard against them? Irina. I don't know. Tiba. Well, I think it's a lack of training. He said while wiping the dust off his pants. If you would dedicate more time to strengthening your bodies instead of being in bed with that idiot Rito, you. Zenobia. Hey, don't say anything bad to Tiba. Issei. Please, that's not Issei-kun. The girls just put on a sad face but didn't say anything else, especially the brunette's ex-girlfriend who was still regretting her mistake. Hanabi. Let's leave that topic for later. She watched as her brother lost ground in the fight after receiving a kick. We must help Rito now. Without further ado, Hanabi's retinue flew towards the enemy, but when they were almost there, the enemy looked at them. Crusory. So you want to fight me, but at that moment, he created a bubble big enough for everyone in it to fit inside, threw it, and trapped the others in that ball of energy. I have to end this idiot's life, so you better wait your turn. Hanabi. New brother. She said worriedly inside that ball of energy. Crusory. Right where we left off. I look at Rito lying on the ground, quickly create another sword, and pierce the boy's leg so, it's time for. A sharp blow from a diagonally shaped stone sent him straight into the barrier of the trap set by the Valkyries. On the other side Issei along with the other girls from the chestnut room were in their war suits. Issei. Sorry to ruin this, but this idiot is important to the factions and if he dies they'll come claiming me. Crusory. Who are you, damn human? Issei. Oh, I'm no one important. At that the divine staff appeared in his hand. I'm just a boy who was passing by. Everyone was surprised by Issei's arrival at the fighting field. The battle between the original demon and the brown-haired one was about to begin. Chapter 6. The second defeat, searching for a new element. Battlefield. Anabi Hyoudou's entourage was impressed by the outfit her brother was wearing, a dogi style and his staff in his hands ready to fight. Prusery. I haven't seen you with them before, boy. Who the hell are you? Issei. Well, I'm not a demon, I can assure you. They both looked at each other defiantly, something that the others noticed and caused the atmosphere to become heavy. Anabi. Brother, please take care. Burrito managed to raise his gaze to see how the one he defamed was standing in front of an original demon, the blood from his head coming out in a river, while his angry look was present. The others watched only to see who would make the first move when a small flower in the middle of the battlefield broke from its stem. This signaled the two to take flight, or in the case of the chestnut, to be propelled by a tremendous wind from behind him and face their opponent. The collision between the two created a shock wave which created a cloud of dust that rose from their feet. Without thinking twice, the demon created a sword in order to attack the chestnut tree quickly and accurately, but he reacted in time and defended himself from the attack with his own staff. Prusery. Wow, you were able to stop my blow. Issei. And that's nothing. At that, he hit the ground and then some mounds of rock hit the demon, who flew away and received a huge fireball that the brown-haired man threw with the intention of hurting him. Prusery. Aya. Falling to the ground, he couldn't stop the impact from taking hold due to a gust of wind. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the brunette in a different position. Prusery. Attack demons. Saying that, the other demons who accompanied him went after the chestnut tree, who, from a water source near the place of combat, invoked the water with some hand movements, and it obeyed, to surround him as if he were an octopus, this to the tentacles that formed in his arms. 3 low-class demons tried to grab the brown-haired man from behind, taking a blind spot they thought they saw, but suddenly 2 fireballs that came out of the brown-haired man's hands managed to hit them, leaving them charred. Prusery. Don't just stand there, the others, attack. The other demons flew towards the chestnut tree, but were stopped by the other members of the alliance who had accompanied him. Miku. Let's stop them. The chestnut tree took his staff and ran to where the demon of the opposition faction of the underworld was to continue his fight. Prusery created a shiny black sword and began fighting the brunette. Punches, cuts, and kicks were the outcome of the fight between the two, causing injuries to both, but more noticeable to the demon. The rest of the alliance eliminated the demons that were under Prusery's command. The Nakano sisters were responsible for eliminating most of these. Miku on one hand took her sword and shield from Asgard with shield blows to the demons' faces. It was what she needed to distract them and kill them by burying her sword in them. Nino, who was riding on her horse, galloped towards her rivals and with a sword she killed her rivals, while the demons that got in the way of her horse were crushed. Ichika and Itsuki stabbed at strategic points with their spears, causing the demons to fall one by one. While Yotsuba held a staff and went to the wounded to heal them for the defeat she had suffered. The Hyoudou brothers watched as the useless man they called him fought alongside one of the demons of the ancient faction, managing not only to be equal, but also to corner him. Issei. Wow, this fight is exciting. He commented while wiping his mouth of the blood that was coming out of it. But I must end this. Prusery. It's the same as I say. He commented as he stood up, leaning on his sword. Prusery. I must kill this boy or he will be a threat to the brigade. Without wasting any time, the demon placed the sword in front of him and began to say a prayer in a low voice. The brunette noticed this and couldn't stop staring at him. Issei. This is bad. At that moment the chestnut placed his staff in front of him and, imitating the demon, began to whisper a prayer, causing the staff to begin to shine so much that more than one had to cover their eyes because of the light. Prusery. Issei. I'm ready. Without further ado, the two charged at each other to slam their weapons into their opponent. The brunette stretched out his staff to deflect the sword attack coming toward him. On the other hand, the original demon, sensing that movement, tried to strike with his knee. The others watched the fight, amazed by his skill and the fact that no one wanted to back down. But the Hyoudou family was a different story. The boy's sisters looked at their brother with concern, while Rita watched him with great jealousy as he was gaining the attention of the alliance. The chestnut continued fighting with his weapon in hand, but when one of his feet was not firm, he could use it to launch an attack of either fire or earth. Rias. It's clear he's a true master. Sona. It's true, I can't believe the control he has even without using his hands. Bekeno. Ara, Anata looks good fighting like that. Asia. Issei-sen is amazing. Tsubaki and Ross was simply nodded at what the others were saying, but on the other hand the girls who once belonged to Ria's peerage had a look of regret, especially Zenobia who just looked with pity at the red dragon mark she carried. Returning to the fight, the brunette began to gain ground because one of the pillars he had created to strike at his opponent tore off his arm. It was clear that where the joint should have been, there was a seal to stop the bleeding. Crusory. You're a miserable person. Issei. Yes, I've been told that many times. Without wasting any time, the chestnut-haired man flew quickly toward the demon, who was waiting for him with his sword, but on his knees due to his condition. However, the chestnut-haired man, with the help of his staff, created a gust of wind, causing the original demon's sword to fly from his hands. Crusory. Damn, it's the end of me. Without further ado, the chestnut-haired man struck with his fist surrounded by fire, thus incinerating what remained of his enemy. Demon R1. Let's run away. The other demons who were followers of Crusory fled from the place, others were guarded by the members of the Alliance. Without further ado, the chestnut tree put away his staff and then went where his friends were waiting for him. Issei. Well, it would be best if we went home to rest and… Sirzechs. Wait a moment. Issei-kun, the one who approached was none other than Sirzechs, who had appeared along with the other leaders. We need to talk to you about. Issei. Well, who's hungry? He asked his friends, who raised their hands and followed the brown-haired boy. Sirzechs. Drop that silly kid act and come with us, you're in danger. The brunette stopped and looked at the Redeed, his face had a serious expression bordering on enormous anger. Issei. Risk is being with you bunch of hypocrites. And that he pointed with his finger to where the Redeed was, next to his family and his ex-girlfriend, who was being healed by Kaneko with Senjutsu. Tell me why I should go with you, since several who were there tried to kill me with their actions, and one almost succeeded. Issei's brothers immediately saw his ex-girlfriend, who just turned her face away. Without further ado, the brown-haired man took Ria's hand, who blushed, and they began to walk towards the academy. Behind them were Sona with her queen, Akeno and Asia. Further behind were Roswis and the Valkyries she had brought as reinforcements for the mission. In that place, his sisters began to sob while they looked at Mikado in a bad way, who was crying silently upon feeling the coldness in the brown-haired man's gaze. Classroom. In the teacher's lounge, Minagawa could be seen looking at her phone. It contained photos of her and Issei happily going out for a walk during the brunette's extra study sessions. In each and every one of those photos she looked at, she grimaced in pain, this for having played with the brunette's feelings, for having believed in Rito's word, which in the end made him abandon her. Minagawa. I am so stupid. She started crying as she brought her cell phone closer to her body and placed it on her chest. The girl was on the ground floor where the living room was, her sobbing was faint, so it couldn't be heard beyond those four walls, but the sounds from the other side, to be more exact from the patio, could be heard, which is why I noticed a laugh that I had missed a lot. Minagawa. Issei. He looked out the window to confirm that it was him, but what hurt him most was that several girls were talking and laughing next to him. What hurt him most was seeing Akeno leaning on his shoulder, while Ria's hands were intertwined. Seeing him happy with them triggered an immense pain in her chest. Minagawa. Issei. The girl just continued crying, seeing that little scene while she remained in her place crying and lamenting what she did to the only boy who really looked at her for who she was and not for her reputation. From the building opposite the girl, a silhouette looked out from afar. His gaze didn't quite rest on the chestnut tree, as his true objective was to see the Sekiryuutei. That didn't mean he didn't even notice that scene. Lucifer Castle. In one of the castles that previously belonged to the new factions of the demons, but thanks to the war they had against the Chaos Brigade they had lost, was the Risevim group. They watched as their leader returned to the meeting room while adjusting his clothes. Risevim. Upper-class women are the best, especially if they resist. The others mocked while two devils came out of the next room carrying an upper-class girl, or so it seemed from their torn clothes and their lost gaze. Risevim. The matriarch of the Valak house was the best, if anyone wants to use her there she commented while letting out a sick laugh. At that moment a magic circle appeared, they recognized the seal because it was the same one that Crusory had left, they were waiting for good news. Risevim. Oh, I see your mission was. At that moment he was surprised to see that of the squadrons that had left for the invasion, only 20 renegade demons had returned. The others noticed this too, so they stood up when they saw them with deep wounds and cuts. Shalba. What happened? With a demanding voice she asked one of the demons who had barely opened his eyes, where the hell is Crusory? BR3. We were defeated, Mr. Crusory has died in battle. Shalba. How is that possible? It was supposed to be a surprise attack, so the Alliance couldn't have expected it. BR3. I don't know how they found out, but when we arrived we were transported into a separate space, there was the Alliance ready for battle. Kateria. Even so, there were more of them, how is it possible that they were defeated? I asked demandingly, while Risevim looked at everything with a bit of seriousness. BR5. Indeed, even with the weight we had the ground gained, but a person came and turned everything upside down. Risevim. Sekiryuutei. BR5. No sir, that useless dragon was quickly defeated. Risevim. Then speak. BR4. He was another boy, he arrived quickly and defeated more than half of the army. Pteria. How did he do it? BR4. I don't know, I was unconscious and I thought he was dead, but ugh, was the last thing he said when he saw his stomach being pierced by a spear of darkness. Risevim. Well now you are, if you don't say something useful. Die. Turning to see the others who had returned, he created another equal spear. Well, whoever saw how they were defeated. BR5. Sir, he used basic elements to kill the others and after that he took out a somewhat strange rod with which he killed Mr. Crusory. The others were surprised by the story, well Risevim thought for a while. Risevim. Well, I see you didn't do a good job of killing everyone. BR5. Sir. Without further ado, Risevim created a ball of energy that was too large and without further ado, threw it at the survivors who remained in the place and then walked towards the center of the room. Pteria. Are you going anywhere? Risevim. I'm going to the first house of the Lucifers, one that the new mass have no idea exists. Shalba. What for? Risevim. This idiot mentioned a stick or something like that, and I don't think that idiot Kuoh was responsible for that massacre, so I'll investigate in the family library. Without further ado, he disappeared from the place, leaving the others with a look of confusion about how he acted. The next day. In the house where Issei lived with the girls who did not leave him aside, he was meditating, since during the night he had a vision of being able to master various elements based on the 4 he already mastered. The one that mattered most to him was the lightning bolt because he knew that with its destructive power, he could have won the fight he had yesterday against the original demon more quickly. Issei. I must channel my fire energy in a thin form throughout my body, I know that with this I can obtain the power of lightning. The boy simply began to breathe calmly, searching for the form he wished to obtain from his power. Suddenly, several lightning bolts began to cover the boy's body. The same lightning bolts he felt. Issei. This must be low. Asia. Issei and the girl arrived at the moment when the rays that covered Issei began to disappear, causing the boy to sigh in disappointment. It's time for breakfast, we have to go to school today. Issei. Thanks Asia, I'll get ready in a few moments and catch up with you. The girl simply withdrew with a huge blush when she noticed that the brunette was shirtless, his pecs were more than exposed and caused the blonde to start imagining strange things. Without wasting time, a new and repetitive day began for the brown-haired boy, which consisted of receiving flattery from the girls, threats now from the boys, not because he was the traitor, that was already in the past, but because he was attracting the attention of the girls at school, and they didn't like that, and above all, the harassment from the teacher who cheated on him, as well as his ex-girlfriend. Without a doubt, those were the days that awaited the chestnut tree, and he himself knew it. Issei. I think it was a mistake to have come back, he commented to the air while he was on the roof of the academy, eating his lunch since it was break time, and he watched as 2 boys were chased by a group of girls in different uniforms. I don't think the same, said a new voice that had reached where the brown-haired boy was looking. Issei. Penum, what are you doing here? I look at the girl who had appeared from a magic circle behind him. Penum. Nothing, darling, I just wanted to stop by and see you. She stole a kiss from the brunette, who didn't deny it, and also to bring you the information you asked me for in a message. Issei. It's from the lightning element, right? Penum. That's right, I commented while giving him a yellow book with red edges. This is the little I was able to get from father's library before falling and going with that idiot Azazel. Issei. It's obvious you don't like him. Penum. He's a good leader, but when it comes to making decisions or taking action, he doesn't give them the necessary importance. Issei. Don't worry, sooner or later he'll have to understand that life isn't just about his experiments. Penum. I know, that's what I dislike most about that guy, she replied as she sat on the brown-haired boy's lap and took some snacks out of her bag. Do you like them? Issei. Thank you, he answered while taking a sandwich and tasting it, it's delicious. Penum. I'm glad you liked it, she grabbed the brown-haired boy's cheek while looking at him with concern. I heard you fought a demon from the original factions. Issei. I really didn't mean to interfere, but Roswas was there and I couldn't leave her alone. Besides, that idiot Rito was quickly defeated. Penum. I know, I heard about it, I look at the book I had given him, that's why you're looking for how to master lightning, right? Issei. Not only lightning, I know there are many variants of the 4 elements, such as controlling metal, ice, lava and so on. I can tell you several combinations or sub-variants that the elements have, but for that I must continue training. Penum. But never say it was a mistake to come back to this place, you don't know how much the girls and I miss you. The brown-haired boy noticed how sad the girl was, and without further ado, he gave her a kiss to calm her down, which he achieved. Issei. Well, I'll never say that comment again, but come on, we have to go because my lunch break is about to end and you have to get back to work. Penum. That's true, the good thing is that my assistant is waiting downstairs in my limo. Issei. I thought you came through the circle. Penim. And I did, but to make the alibi work in case someone sees us up here, my limousine is waiting for me at the entrance. Issei. I see, what a good plan. Without further ado, they both entered the building again to go where the girl's limousine was. What they didn't notice was that behind one of the lockers, there was a certain silhouette crying, but this time with a lost look. Minagawa. Damn bitch, damn bitch, damn bitch, damn bitch, damn bitch, damn bitch, you took my Issei away from me. The girl began to have an angry look and at the same time a sickly love first that red-haired idiot and now this girl, no one will take me away from my Issei. Without further ado, the girl hit the locker while watching Issei and Penum's laughter as they walked away from that place. Time skip. In the afternoon the chestnut tree was again in the yard while being watched by the girls who lived there, plus 2 spies who only followed him to find out where he lived. These were Murayama and Caddis, who were overcome by curiosity and followed the others from a distance too far and reached the chestnut house. They thought he lived with the Hyoudou family, who had come to him on more than one occasion for school-related matters, such as meetings of the Cultural and Sports Festival Committee. Thinking that the chestnut tree also lived there, they followed them, but to their surprise, they walked in the opposite direction at a crossroads, so they decided to follow them. Anyway, the brunette had several girls watching, all of whom were blushing at the sight of him in his tight pants. Okeno had a perverted smile as she brought her fingers to her lips. Rias. So what are you trying to do? Issei. I need to find out how to create lightning without the need to use the god's staff. Asia. Why, Issei-san? Don't you trust our lord's power? Issei. It's not that, but I won't fight with it all the time, because it's very annoying, that's why I need to learn how to use lightning, he commented, while concentrating his firepower in his hands. The spies were so red they were staring at the chestnut-haired man's body that they didn't notice the fire on his hand. Caddis. Wow, Hyoudou sure has a body that many would envy. Murayama. It's better than the guys we go out with. The brown-haired boy continued concentrating the fire in his hand and then tried to direct it to his fingers. This caused a few sparks to come out of them in the direction of the wall where he was spying on the girls. This caused a small explosion that scared both of them and they ran away from the place. Caddis. What happened? Murayama. I don't know, but it's better if we go. Tomorrow I'll cut off that idiot and try to get Issei's attention. Caddis. Not if I beat you first. They had forgotten the chestnut tree's words, that his forgiveness was the last thing they would get from him, and without further ado they left the place. Returning with the chestnut tree, they were surprised by the scream they heard, so they searched for those responsible, but found nothing. Without further ado, the brown-haired man continued with his training, because he knew that sooner or later the enemies would attack. Lucifer's mansion. In the mansion where Risevim was, he was searching for information about what he'd heard about that guy. He pored over every book his father had ever written, especially those diaries that spoke of humans with exceptional powers. Risevim. I don't think this is the case, but to be on the safe side, it's time for Shalba to pay a visit to the human world. I commented while thinking that this was the second time this had happened to me. Risevim. First Gabriel and now that idiot Crusory, what's going on? That was the question he asked himself as he continued reading the documents. A new war is about to begin, and the pieces were about to start moving. Chapter 7. Risevim's concern, let's go for a new ally. Pistillo Lucifer. In a somewhat old library we see our antagonist, Risevim Lucifer, who was looking at a pile of books from his original family. Risevim. I know my idiot father left information somewhere. At that moment I looked at every book I had on the table until one caught my attention. Risevim. My fall. The old man began to read calmly with a bored expression, which gradually changed to a more serious one, because in that book, there were things that really began to worry him. Risevim. This must be a bucking joke. As he continued reading, it became increasingly clear to him what the demon killer had told him. Risevim. Damn, I thought I'd have this war won by now. Without further ado, the old man left the castle with a book in his hand, but the expression he had was not happy or crazy, it was somewhat serious. Kuoh City. We see our protagonist in the courtyard of his house, where he was in the lotus position in order to speak with the source of his power. Even though I tried. Issei. This is impossible, he commented as he let his body fall to the ground. Rias. What's up, honey? Issei. I can't make a connection with at that moment I point to the sky, mostly to not hurt his beloved by name. Rias. I understand, you want to ask him how to access lightning, right? Issei. Not only that, I feel that what that demon has done is only the beginning, that big fights are coming, and we must be prepared for everything. Rias. I know, that's why I've decided to start a training regimen for the remainder of my term. Both Sona and I felt it necessary to return to my country house for some training. Issei. I suggest you start here first, he commented while drinking some water. We don't know when they'll attack us again, the previous fight was proof of that. Sona. So what do you suggest, Issei-kun? Asked the newcomer. Behind her came only the few pieces of Rias and that she had left. At that moment the chestnut turned to see a certain spinster Valkyrie who was training with a kendo sword towards a tree that had a sack placed on it as protection. Issei. Well, we have a certain group of Valkyries on our side, right? The others nodded and called Roswis's attention. Tell me, Rasan. Do you think the quintuplets can help? Roswis. Of course, Issei-kun, we are willing to help you and the others get stronger. Issei. I think we already have trainers for you girls. The others just looked at the Valkyrie, who went from a serene look to a more serious one that promised pain. Roswis. I will make your power so great that the Valkyries themselves will envy you. All you could hear was a gulp of saliva at the girl's statement. The brunette, on the other hand, just laughed at the girl's reaction to Roswis's statement. Without further ado, the day's activities began by going to Kuoh's academy, where two girls are now trying to get the attention of our brown-haired man who spied on him the day before, but of course he just passed by, they didn't even have time to tell them that. Instead, his brothers were in the occult club alongside Saji, who was the new king under the supervision of the Sitri family. Saji. Well, what is this meeting for? The boy asked seriously. Hanabi. What's more obvious to us? The issue is my Oni-chan, who doesn't want to return to where he belongs as a Hyoudou brother. Saji. This is all because of that idiot. If they really needed me to waste my time, it must have been for something else. As far as I'm concerned, he can go to hell. Winry. Says the one who made him look bad in front of the Sitri family for wanting to abuse one of the pieces that ignored him, said the girl with a certain serious tone. Saji. Honestly, if it's not for anything else, it's better for me to go, I have better things to do. Hanabi. Not only that, the girl commented as she stood up from her president chair, the attack we just went through is a more than obvious sign that the Chaos Brigade is about to return. Hame. Clippeth you mean. Hanabi. Anyway, that group came back and apparently has more followers than last time, she commented while showing an image of the army that had invaded them. Right. Among its members there are magicians, demons, fallen angels, and from what I noticed there were also angels. The boy showed the image of an angel with only half of its wings white and the other half black. Hanabi. Wait, I didn't see that guy in the fight. Rito. Well, that's because one of those Valkyries that arrived fought with that guy and defeated him. Hame. Wouldn't it be better to notify the Alliance? Saji. Lucky they listened to you, all because of that idiot, they don't pay attention to us, he commented seriously while clenching his fist. Hanabi. For now we must notify Sirzechs Sama, they may not listen to us, but he, being the leader of the Alliance, should be listened to. Rito. This is really getting out of control. Hame. Whatever it is, we must return our brother to the house, Mom has not been well lately and has been fighting profusely with our father over this matter. Rito. We'll see how to make that idiot come back, even if it's through beatings, he must understand that he must listen to us and respect us, the boy commented angrily while unconsciously holding his stomach. Winry. But what can we do? He doesn't want to listen to us. He sends us flying with that mysterious air that surrounds him, and not to mention Rias and Sona's meddling. They won't let us get close to him. Hanabi. I'll think of something to get rid of both girls, I commented as I took out a notebook and started writing in it. Hame. By the way, Rito Oni-san, what did father want from you? Rito. That I infiltrated Grandpa's company. Apparently, the threat that idiot made him was real, and he's lost all income. Winry. Wow, it seems that even Grandpa hated us too. Hanabi. Anyway, we must be prepared for a new attack from those idiots, the girl commented as she stopped writing things down in her notebook. Saji. Well, if you'll excuse me, Vitra and I should conquer more girls with your help, the boy simply left the room, leaving the girls with a look of disgust. Hame. I don't know how Vitra allows itself to lend itself to that. Right. I assure you, that dragon has a spell that controls it or puts it to sleep. Issei's lawn. We see the brown-haired boy who was not paying attention to teacher Minagawa's class, he was looking towards a window where he saw some boys from the karate club who were training. This reminded him of a somewhat unpleasant experience for the boy. Flashback. We can see the chestnut tree hanging by its foot and tied to a tree. This tree had been placed as a pinata by a group of boys. Judging by their clothing, it was clear they were from the karate club. Boy 1. I can't believe it's your damn fault we lost that championship, he commented while hitting the boy in the ribs, causing him to spit blood. Boy 2. You thought we would never realize that you were that idiot who passed all the information to the other schools, he said while giving him a punch to the pit of the stomach. Issei. Please, I didn't do it. Boy 3. we know everything. He hit him again on one of his legs. The teachers who passed by simply turned a blind eye as the punishment continued. Boy 4. Also, we already knew from your sisters that you are a damn pervert for stealing their underwear, you really are sick, he said while hitting him on the back. The chestnut tree at this point was just unconscious while being beaten by the others. Her brothers just watched from the occult club room, which caught the Retide's attention. Rias. What are you looking at? Brito. Nothing, President, you better continue with your meeting. Rias. Insurance. Winry. Yes, everything is fine, she commented while crossing her fingers behind her back. After a while, our chestnut tree, which was still hanging, stopped moving. Of course, this alarmed the boys, and without hesitation, they brought it down in the worst way possible, by cutting the rope that held it, and it fell to the ground dryly. The others left him without checking that, if he was okay, he would have quietly left the place. After a few minutes, the brunette simply opened his eyes while wiping the dust off his uniform from the fall he had taken. Issei. Now those idiots have gone too far. End of flashback. The chestnut tree had that memory, since this morning the same karate club arrived with the purpose of apologizing for that occasion. Of course, the brunette and his new attitude simply walked past, leaving everyone with some pain, but one of the boys didn't take that action well and stopped him by grabbing his shoulder. He complained and told him that he was behaving like an idiot by reacting that way, earning himself a blow to the face from Issei, who, due to his excessive force, sent him against the bushes. The brown-haired boy just looked from the window at the black eye that the boy had earned for trying to bother him and take him by force. Issei. That idiot deserved it. The boy thought as he unconsciously moved his hands under his bench. Minagawa. Hyoudou-san. The brown-haired boy simply continued to stare out the window. Minagawa. Hyoudou-san. The teacher was going to once again call the name of the boy who only gave attention to whoever or whatever deserved it, but at that moment the school bell rang, implying that the class had ended. Minagawa. Okay guys, that's all for today. Please remember to leave the work I assigned you on my desk. The other students began to get up, but at that moment, he fixed his gaze on Issei's seat, or rather, an empty spot. Minagawa. Damn, he escaped again. While the teacher was once again complaining about not being able to talk to the brunette, our protagonist was in the school cafeteria. Beside him were Asia and Momo, eating quietly until some shadows covered them. Roswis. Hola Issei-kun. Issei. Ra-sensei, girls. Quintuplets. Hello. Issei. How can I help you? Roswis. We wanted to know if we can eat with you. Issei. Of course, you're more than welcome, the brown-haired boy commented as he moved closer to Asia and Momo to leave space for the girls to sit down. Nino. You're very kind, Hyoudou-san, the girl commented as she took her spoon and began to taste her food. I can't believe you're the brother of that horrendous perverted dragon. Issei. Tell me about it, I was always compared to him and it turns out he's even worse when it comes to being a pervert. Itsuki. Don't even mention it, I still remember when he and that idiot Vitra were caught trying to spy on us when we were bathing in the fountains of Asgard. Issei. Hahaha, now I understand why they immediately returned them to Japan. Itsuba. Yes, seriously, that pair of perverts have left the alliance in the land of Asgard in a bad way. Issei. I imagine that the demons did badly for the same reason they did, right? All the girls of Asgard nodded at what the brown-haired boy said. This made the brunette's laughter come to light after a long time, which made the girls blush, but Asia and Roswis had other reactions. Tears of joy came to both of them when they saw the boy like that. Issei. What's wrong? Asia. Nothing, Issei-san, it's just that I haven't looked at him with that expression for a while. The brown-haired boy simply stroked the girl's head, who blushed at that act. Instead, Roswis pouted at this, which the brunette also stroked the girl's hair, which made her very happy. Itsuki. Wow, I've never seen Roswis act like this before. Miku. It's true, I remember that when he returned to Asgard he said that he regretted not helping someone. Ichika. It was most likely Hyoudou-san, he commented when he saw how she had a hidden smile. But as everyone says, good peaceful times don't last, and this happened as soon as they were engaged in that act of affection. Minagawa. Roswis-sensei, the girl called the attention of those present at the table, that is not the way a teacher should act with his student. Issei. I think you are the least suitable to say that, he replied with the same eyes devoid of feelings towards her. Why don't you go somewhere else and ruin other people's lunch? Minagawa. Hyoudou-san, that's no way to con. Issei. You know, you've already ruined my appetite, the brunette commented while taking his food and getting up from his seat. If you want to eat that much, go ahead, the table is more than available. I'll see you at the club, girls. Minagawa. Do you already have a club? The teacher asked interested, the brown-haired boy didn't say anything to her and simply stopped walking. If you like, I can be the tutor of your club, since. Issei. Roswa-sensei is now the tutor without saying anything else, all the girls left, leaving the teacher mostly heartbroken because she knew that the brown-haired boy had no hatred in his heart towards her. There was only indifference. Lucifer's castle. In the castle that the old faction of the original demons had taken, we can see Risevim, who was seriously reading the diary he found from his familiar. Risevim? That must be a bucking joke. This phrase clearly caught the attention of the others in the room, which stopped their activity, whether they were playing or in Kateria's case, she stopped indulging a couple of middle-class demons. They looked like they were not in all their senses due to their vacant look, their clothes more than torn, and that they had a seal on their neck. Kateria. What's up, Risevim? Kateria. Trouble for us, that's what it is. Shalba. You're talking about the idiot who stopped the attack. Risevim. Of course I'm talking about that idiot, the idiot who is capable of ruining everything we have planned. Shalba. I don't think that human has such power, you must be exaggerating, the demon commented as he put aside the food he was tasting. Risevim. Listen to this. Nera Risevim. The diary I found of my relative tells about a power that the same God of the Bible left for humanity. A power that only predestined people will be able to use. From the most basic aspects, such as manipulating natural elements, to controlling beyond life and death. The first to be seen with that power was Noah, who, despite controlling the elements, stopped the plan to eliminate humanity and the beings created by the same God of the Bible by controlling those animals. My ancestor says that his plan to deceive God and make him believe that everything was wrong with his creation didn't quite work. Then there's this Moses, who freed a people who were being controlled by the Egyptian faction. According to this, my grandfather was the one who told that faction to view others who didn't follow them as mere slaves. This didn't please God, and he gave that power to Moses in order to free his followers. Finally, there is the man who made my grandfather's life miserable. A young man named Jesus, who not only mastered the elements in record time, but was also able to master the heart and see beyond life and death. This boy did great things with that power, even sealing my grandfather in the underworld itself. What seemed like his death was nothing more than reaching a peak of his power, thus creating that seal that divides evil from divine. Not only that, he was the one who sealed the beast, who was my ancestor's last resort to once and for all put an end to the heaven faction. End of narrative. Risevim. As you can see, we're not only facing a boy who will be able to master the elements, but he'll also be able to put an end to everything we've done, the white-haired man commented seriously. Not only did he defeat Crucery, but he also eliminated Gabriel. Kateria. What can we do then? Risevim. Shalba, the demon who was appointed, paid attention. Tell all the demons who are in disguise to prepare to attack the underworld. Shalba. As you say. Kateria. We'll tell Loki about this. Risevim. Let him find out for himself, he said while throwing a chess piece that was on top of his board. One less pawn in our plan won't hurt. Kateria. I understand. The two demons left the room, leaving Risevim alone, who took off his cloak and went to an adjoining room. Risevim. I need to de-stress, I commented to the air as I looked at a girl with her clothes torn, chained to a bed. Her gaze looked lost. Issei's house. The brown-haired boy was in his courtyard in his training clothes, next to him were the Valkyries in battle clothes, and in front of them was what remained of Rias and Sona's entourage. Issei. Okay girls, this will be simple, he said, while calling the others' attention. We don't know what's coming, but we still have to be prepared for any attack. Girls? Yes. Issei. Well, the Nakano and Roswa sisters will help us with their training, from the handling of magic, and especially weapons. Rias. Is it necessary? Issei. You saw it yourself with that idiot Rito. Demons don't just attack with their magic, they also use weapons, and for that we must practice and teach them how to handle them. Akeno. But there's a problem, Anada, the girl commented as she raised her hand. Issei. I think I know what it is. Even if we have the others in the alliance on our side, the supply of weapons will not be authorized if one of them is found to be true. Sona. And knowing Ria's family, of course they'll leave us aside and not authorize that. Rias. Those idiots, the girl commented angrily. Issei. Don't worry about it, he comments this, attracting the girl's attention. I already found a way to make this not be an impediment. Tsubaki. How would you do it, Issei-kun? At that moment, Cadre Penum appeared in the courtyard, wearing an office suit that was too tight, highlighting her slender figure. Issei. You found it, right? I looked at the girl, who didn't even flinch and stole a kiss on the cheek. Penum. Honey, you know you can trust me, I always get what I need, I commented as I handed her a piece of paper. By the way, I didn't introduce you to my assistant. Behind her appeared that red-haired girl, who was in the offices of her grandfather's company. Penum. Her name is Emilia Yusa, she will accompany you. Rias. Where to? The girl asked. Issei. She and I will go to that blacksmith for his weapons. What I heard is a descendant of Hephaestus himself, but he did not want to be under the command of the Olympians. Rias. Wouldn't it be better if one of us goes with you? The girl commented, since she wasn't very convinced of that girl. Don't take it the wrong way, Penum-sama, but I don't think she has. Penum. Emilia, please. Emilia. Of course Penum-sama. The girl simply raised her hand and a sword came out of it, but immediately she was on the other side of the courtyard and a rock that was in the middle turned out to be cut in half. Issei. Hey, that's the stone where my grandfather drank his sake, the boy commented, annoyed when he saw that the stone was broken. Penum. Don't worry, darling, he commented calmly. At that moment he simply cast a spell and brought that stone back to normal. As you see Rias, she is capable of fighting. Rias. Sorry. Issei. Well, Penum, I'll leave you in charge, the brown-haired boy commented as he prepared a transportation circle with his staff. Sona. In charge of what? I asked, but there was a hint of fear in her voice. Penum. Not only will Roswis be in charge of your training, she said while preparing an attack with her left hand, I'm ready too. The others simply changed their expressions to those of fear and more when they saw how Issei said goodbye to them. Girls. This is going to hurt, they said at the same time while looking at the others already with an attack in their hand. We see how the chestnut tree and his companion arrived in a city different from Japan. Because of the style of the buildings it looked as if it were another continent. Issei. Where are we? Emilia. We are in New York, to be more exact in Manhattan. Issei. What are we doing here? Emilia. Let's go to that building, I commented while pointing at a huge building. At the top you could see some letters that said MH Factory. The two walked calmly while the brown-haired boy looked attentively at the entire city since it was the first time he had been there. Upon arriving at the reception desk, they saw weapons displayed in huge display cases, from simple pistols and swords to more complex ones, including all types of knives and firearms, and even highly technological bows. Receptionist. How can I help you? Emilia. We're from Miss Penum, we have a meeting with the principal. The chestnut tree, who was attentive to everything, looked closely at the created weapons. Receptionist. Please take the elevator, she's waiting for you on the 50th floor. Nodding, they both took the elevator and pressed the button indicating the 50th floor. Upon arriving at the floor, the door opened, but instead of expecting a meeting room or a lobby, they found something peculiar. Issei. A laboratory, the girl nodded. They both went into that room, not expecting it at that moment. 5. The brown-haired boy was knocked to the ground by something. Emilia, who managed to move, watched as the object that was on top of Issei began to move. Damn, I have to calibrate the laser on that weapon, commented a voice that was above Issei. Wow, what are you doing on the floor? The brunette opened his eyes only to find a girl on top of him. Her clothes were torn, but what caught his attention most was Issei. P. Emilia. Chose. Indeed, on top of the brunette was a girl with a huge cleavage that revealed her breasts. The brunette, not sensing any intention of attacking him, never dodged the girl's blow. If you are here, it means that you are the visitors I am waiting for. My name is Mei Hatsum, weapons inventor. The girl said with a huge smile. Now they could make out the girl, with beautiful pink hair and a body. She was the person Penum had told them to go see. Is she the ally the boys are looking for? Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.